This is a series about quests, because I really like quests. They've kept me on this version of the game despite the mess that EOC used to be, and the release of Old School. I mean, Old School's great, but, you know, it reverted 6 years of updates. Not all of them were shit. Yeah, let's not talk about that. But the quests. I mean, Branches of Darkmire, Nomad's Requiem, they added fucking voice acting and actual vocal songs in one piercing note and Song from the Depths. And then there's Ritual of the Majorat, one of the longest series in the game that leads to the events that change the entire fate of Gielinor itself in its sequel, a quest that would end up being released just 1 week after Old School released. I wasn't fucking missing that. But anyway, this is StoryScape, a timeline-locked Iron Man account with, like, 2 extra rules. Firstly, on top of being locked to content by the timeline, I'll also be locked to areas that I've explored organically through questing. And secondly, I've set soft level caps for each of the areas. Although, realistically, with an Iron Man, I'm not sure how long that one will last. I could just ignore mining and woodcutting, I suppose. They're definitely going to be the main offenders. But I'm rambling now, so let's just get into the video. I hope you enjoy.
Journey with me to Ashdale, I want to explore in search of the book of 1,000 songs as we set off from the shore.
And with that, StoryScape was born. I gave him a full head of hair, because that's the real fantasy here, and made him a hardcore just to see what happens. I mean, I don't expect to last long in hardcore. Last time I tried this, I died to Count Draenor, but it'll be interesting to see how long I can manage. To experience the story properly, it was imperative that we selected I haven't played before, which ensures you start on Tutorial Island, because this Gielinor renowned training camp will appear again later in the story. We do actually have some lore about the adventurer right from the off. We know that they were raised in the island of Ashdale, and their journey began in the year 169 of the 5th Age. This is as far as we get with the actual dates in the Asgardian calendar until the world wakes in the year 172, a full 13 years later. In fact, if you look on the wiki, it says every quest before that point was completed in this year. Now, I could try and piece together an actual timeline, but working out this series was more than enough for me to get overwhelmed continuously, and I'm not giving myself more unnecessary work. But anyway, on the Tutorial Island, a young StoryScape is instructed in all the basics of adventuring, and most importantly, they are given access to the famous Quest Journal, a book which apparently automatically updates whenever someone in Gielinor requires aid. Because if you aren't adding your own headcanon, is it even an RPG? After learning the rest of the basics, banks exist, prayers work, and teleporting is useful, we are sent to Lumbridge to begin our adventure. But not before I fix this UI.
Much later.
That's much better. And so we have our first quest, perhaps the only quest in the game that pretty much every single player has completed at least once, Cook's Assistant. Released in 2001 and then reworked in 2009, the modern version of the quest has us looking for only the very best ingredients for the Duke's cake. Only the very top quality of milk, the finest flour, and the biggest of eggs will be suitable for his lordship, and the rest of the quest is pretty much the same. Ask for permission to milk a cow in a field where you're freely able to kill as many cows as you like. Steal an egg from a poor unsuspecting farmer, giving us our first glimpse into the adventurer's sociopathic drive to do anything as long as it means finishing the quest, and then have Millie the Miller adjust her millstones for some extra fine flour. What's wrong with ordinary flour? I'm not quite sure, Millie. And with that, we receive our reward from a rather rude cook. Jesus, what did I do to you? Next, we have the Blood Pact. Released in 2010, it's in this quest that we're first introduced to one of the signature heroes, Xenia. Although many of the quests originally planned with the signature heroes were cancelled, they do still appear and are the focus of many quests releasing all the way up to the modern day. Xenia meets us in the Lumbridge graveyard, as Zamorakian cult have kidnapped a young woman called Ilona. Ever the dullest tool in the shed, the adventurer decides to charge headfirst at someone with a bow, and you can guess what happens next. so instead we use the coffins for cover so we can get close enough to poke him with our butter knife. This quest's prime function was basically just to introduce the player to the old combat triangle. Kale is just some poor sod who's been roped into this by people he thought were his friends, so yeah, just give me your stuff and get out of here, dude. From Caitlin, we learn that the tomb was built as a workshop for Dragith Nern, a Zamorakian necromancer who was later buried here. They plan to perform a ritual to unlock the secrets of the dark magical art. And finally, we find Rhys downstairs. He attacks us. We refuse to kill him because they keep going on about a sacrifice and we don't want that to happen, so instead he kills himself, completing the Blood Pact and opening the lower levels of the catacombs. Quest complete, on to the next one. The Restless Ghost, another quest that got reworked in 2009, and the story makes less sense than it does in old school. Father Eric has been having issues with a ghost in his graveyard and needs help getting rid of it, and sends us to Father Ernie, who complains that he's only been gone for a few months and can't leave the swamp for 2 years, so he gives you an amulet of ghost speak to speak to the ghost and ask him what the issue is. Turns out his head's gone, and he thinks it might be near where he died. He was attacked by a warlock at the mine just to the south of us. That's rather convenient. Okay, so in the original version of this quest, the skull is in the ruins of the old wizard's tower, presumably stolen by a necromancer. And when you try to retrieve it, you get attacked by a skeleton, probably left by the same necromancer to guard his shit. This version seems less logical. We find the skull, which is clearly visible, so first off, why wasn't it just moved with the rest of his body? And upon retrieving it, we're attacked by the skeleton of the warlock who killed the dude. So what, he just killed him and then waited there until he himself died, guarding just the skull for decades for no real discernible reason? I don't know, I'm dumb or the quest is, you tell me. It makes more sense in old school. Quest done. Ding! Time to go see a guy about some black balls. Next on the list is Sheep Shearer. This former quest has been demoted to a mini-quest, which is perfectly valid and has me wondering why certain other quests weren't also reclassified, but I'll complain about them when I get to them. He needs our help to fill an order for 20 balls of black wool. Super easy, if a little time consuming. Upon delivering his big bag of balls, we're paid surprisingly well for our trouble. What's that, 100 gold per ball? If that's what he's paying us, I don't want to think about what he's charging people for these things. Okay, I actually looked it up because I was curious. Most shops in the game sell the regular balls of wool for 5 gold each, and he paid us 20 times that for just collecting them for him. No shop sells black balls. Dude really has cornered the market there. After this, I bought my Premier Pass for the year and got this battle-worn steel armor cosmetic. I picked it because it looks like battered old hand-me-down armor that seems perfect for a young beginner adventurer, and I tend to prefer some of the cosmetics to the in-game stuff that hasn't been graphically updated for over a decade. If you prefer me not to though, I won't. I really don't care that much. I never go too crazy with these cosmetic things anyway. The backpack stays though. I still want skill backpacks as an optional alternative to skill capes. Decided to do a bit of skilling before leaving Lumbridge. Got 10 thieving at the bakery stalls for some great early game food. Cooked some shrimp for some more food. Made my first wood box. Then did some Slayer and Lumbridge Swamp. And made a set of iron armour to completely over-prepare for the fight with Delrith. Let's move on to Demon Slayer. Now, unlike the last reworks we saw that happened in 2009, this one was reworked after the infamous Evolution of Combat update, first being reworked in 2013 and then having another large list of changes in 2014. This quest has apparently had more reworks than any other quest in the game. We start off by meeting Gideon Bede in the Saradominus Church in Varrock. He's been tracking Danath, a Zamorakian wizard who infiltrated the monastery in Edgeville, stealing a tome of demonology, a book once used to summon the demon Delrith from his home world of Infernus, before being banished by Wally the Hero 150 years earlier in the 19th year of the 5th Age. I'm just going to pause it here because I'm not entirely sure how accurate this is to the lore. If you go on Wally's page in the wiki, it does say that he was removed from the game's canon back in 2013 when this version of the quest was originally released. However, if you talk to his great-grandson Surprising while holding Silverlight, he does say, you're wielding my ancestor's sword. And Delrith's page still says he was defeated 150 years ago, and Gideon himself tells us that he was defeated 150 years ago by an unnamed hero. So I'm just going to go with the idea that that was Wally, because I'm not sure what's going on with the lore there and why they'd suddenly make a named hero unnamed to fit with the canon better. So, just gonna go with that. Sorry for the rude interruption. Back to the video. He claims that Delrith is an extremely powerful demon, but the dude's level 15, and unlike his previous incarnation in Old School, can absolutely be killed immediately after creating your account. He's pretty scrawny now. He is, however, immune to all weaponry save the legendary sword Silverlight. No longer is this sword guarded poorly by the progeny of Wally, but instead it resides in the crypts beneath the church, kept safe by the spirits of its former owners. Seems like a bit of a rough rap. Slay or banish a demon? Okay, now your soul is trapped forever in a tomb. Even though we don't actually know if Delrith has been summoned yet, we must secure Silverlight in case the worst should come to pass. Okay, dude, it's not your immortal soul that's going to be trapped in a basement for eternity. Okay, you tried. I guess that's alright then. Apparently nonplussed by this, though, the adventurer plunges into the crypt below, to be welcomed by the spirits of the body, mind, and faith, the adjudicators of our trials. First, in the west, we have the trial of the body, who asks us to clean up the bones on the floor. Pretty easy, right? Do not underestimate the trial. Manual labor can be hard work. Suddenly, the skeletons spring to life, and, I thought this was meant to be hard. 2 seconds. Then we have the Trial of the Mind in the East. This is a memory game slightly reminiscent of the original's version, I guess, as it has you answer questions about the quest, making sure you've been paying attention to what's going on, or have the wiki telling you which answers to pick. And finally, we have the Trial of Faith. All we've got to do here is follow the instructions and... Oops. Second attempt though. That was kind of embarrassing. So despite everything Gideon said about needing an adventurer, he's just ditched us in the crypt and left us a letter saying he's tracked Danath to a second crypt, this one beneath the Zamorakian temple in the Varrock slums to the south. I grabbed some food along the way just in case, completely forgetting that the cultists we fight through to the encounter with Delrith drop meat, which really would have been all I needed. But anyway, after fighting to the main chamber, Danath teleports away just before Delrith appears and unleashes a massive attack, killing the cultists who summoned him. Gideon protects us with what I presume is a form of the Shield Dome spell unlocked much later in the game, and the first boss fight begins. This guy doesn't count. Aww. The fight has 5 identical phases. Get yourself down, big bada boom. Move to the next circle, rinse and repeat. It can hurt if you are caught outside of the shield, but it's very easy to stay within, and I kind of hate an unnecessary amount. Before long, Delrith dies and explodes. Chunks of purple viscera flying everywhere as the crypt collapses. We will meet Danath again, but for now we have quest number 5, the Shield of Arrav. It's a somewhat important quest as it's listed as the first quest in the Rune Mysteries questline, but is arguably the central storyline to RuneScape. The Majorat become the primary antagonists for many of our adventures. That being said, the connection is pretty flimsy at best, and the only link is the fact that it mentions Arrav and he... but he's probably the best known hero of the 4th Age and where Varrock got its name from. But while that's an interesting piece of lore, it's not really relevant to the story. I will leave some links in the description if anyone wants to learn more. To start the quest, we head to the Varrock Palace Library, where Reldo the Librarian points us to a book called The Shield of Arrav. 26 years ago, Varrock Museum's prize artifact was stolen by the Phoenix Gang, so the previous King Rold put a bounty of 1.2k on its retrieval. A massive sum of money in those days. Well, I hope the reward has been adjusted for inflation. Infiltrating the criminal underworld sounds a hell of a lot more dangerous than, balls. The king had hoped this huge sum of money would entice the gang members to turn on each other. This didn't happen, and the Phoenix Gang have gone on to become the biggest crime syndicate in the city. Varrock, I think that's how it's pronounced, the fur trader in the square, may have some connection to the gang, however, and quickly sells them out for 10 gold. Wait, how didn't this work? Entering the VTAM Corporation HQ, we confront Straven about being the Phoenix Gang. No, this is a legitimate business run by legitimate businessmen. Sure, buddy. To prove our loyalty to the gang, we're told to go murder a member of the rival Black Arm gang, Johnny the Beard, and the adventurer kills him without hesitation. This is a quest about retrieving a shield, dude. Why? But regardless, we got the... Oh, wait. Half the shield. Now, if you talk to Straven again, he will tell you that there was an internal war 5 years earlier, splitting the gang in two. The Black Arm gang taking the other half of the shield. But I just skipped this because I remembered how to do the quest. Slightly to the west, for another 10 gold, Charlie the Tramp tells us that the HQ is just slightly further west and their leader is Katrine. How did this not work? We ask to join, she tells us to steal a couple Phoenix Gang crossbows so she can frame the gang for murder. Why would you agree to this? Hey buddy, I'll just take these. We deliver the crossbows, retrieve the shield half, repair it, and deliver it to King Rold III. 1,200 coins was a fortune in my father's day. I hope it serves you well. Fuck you, dude. I want to say something political about this being just like the British government, but I want to keep politics out of this. Oh wait, I just did. On the 28th of November 2012, the Wizard's Tower was graphically overhauled. Alongside this update, Rune Mysteries was removed and 2 quests were released in its place, reworking and fleshing out the lore for the tower and turning a 15-minute back and forth between 2 wizards into a roughly 1 hour long, fully voice-acted journey through the fall of the tower a century earlier. And I absolutely fucking love it. Well, most of it anyway. At the entrance to the tower, we meet our second signature hero, Ariane, arguing with the wizard Velina.
Velina, the tower is in danger. I need to speak to Archmage Cedrador.
I'm sorry, Ariane. The Archmage was clear. Maybe if you told me why, I could pass on a message.
I can't explain.
So we interject ourselves into the conversation and she asks us to do the exact thing Velina just offered to do. Okay. But before she's able to give us her message, something goes wrong with the beam in the centre of the tower.
Too late, there's something happening. Come on, my message can wait. Let's see what's happening.
We need to draw the vortex into the beam using the airstrike spell. So I took off all my armour and punched the thing. Because I'm dumb. But with my staff equipped, this should be pretty simple, right? However, the vortex seems to prefer going around the beam instead. Ugh, damn it. Fortunately, we're able to get it on the second attempt. Unfortunately, we'll need to do this again later, and it'll be worse that time. After resolving the issue, we meet up with Ariane again outside the tower and...
I can't believe Cedrador would set up a ward to keep me out. I didn't realise he saw me as that dangerous.
Wait, what? What did you do? Am I safe here? She reveals that she's a seer and that her research into this ultimately led her to being banned from the tower. Recently, she's had a vision of the tower in flames, and given what we saw just happen with the beam, she may be onto something. So she asks us to interview the wizards in the tower to find out what we can, starting off with the Archmage Cedrador himself.
Welcome, adventurer. You can tell Ariane that her concerns have been noted. I'm preparing an Icenic Purge. It'll send a surge of energy through the power beam, which should overpower whatever creatures have managed to enter it.
Something tells me this isn't going to work.
What he means is he's going to flood the tower with magic without knowing what he's dealing with.
Well, that doesn't sound good. But she does think it might work, and I forgot to talk to the other wizards. Isidore tells us the beam is an anchor for all teleport spells. Mizgorg is too concerned about where his beads are.
My beads! Where are my beads?
Yeah, we'll deal with you later, dude. Then I spoke to Elrond, Ariane's former master.
Please let her know that I take her seriously, even if no one else does. I will do everything I can to convince Archmage Cedridor to take action. I helped her to harness her gift, to refine it, and to Zamorak with what the other wizards thought.
Wait, did you just say to Zamorak? So far, we've dealt with two other Zamorakian wizards. Rhys from the Blood Pact, who kidnapped someone to sacrifice them, and Danath in the last episode, who tried to destroy a city by summoning a demon. I don't trust you. Ariane might be pleased to hear that Wizard Elrond is on her side. Yeah, well, maybe she shouldn't be. And finally, from Treborn, we get this.
I see things in there. Thingamywats. No one else sees them. They think I'm mad.
So, he sees things that no one else sees, and the other tower wizards all think that he's mad. Hang on, why weren't you banned from the tower too? Is Cedridor being sexist, or just playing favourites? Or am I reading too deeply into this? Probably that. But he does tell us that the tower was built on top of the ruins of the old tower.
That's where it came from. The swirly thing. I saw it come up through the floor of the library.
We tell her what Treborn said, and she expands on what he told us about the old tower.
The story is that Zamorakian wizards betrayed the other orders, but the details of what happened are a mystery.
Wait, Zamorakian wizards again? Oh, what a surprise. Ariane, you do realise that your former master... Never mind. Some extra lore about this being around the time that the Teleport to the Rune Essence spell was created, negating the need to travel the long distance over land while they were suffering a long war with the Fremennik, who believed runecrafting should be the domain of the gods and not man. Okay, this is a massive oversimplification of an extremely complex part of the world's history, and if you are interested in learning more about this, I highly recommend reading The Gift of Gothics by Erin M. Evans, because it's a fantastic book, and it really does a great job of explaining this whole war with the Fremennik and the discovery of rune essence at the turn of the 4th age into the 5th. Sorry for the rude interruption again. Back to the video. So to work out whatever is wrong with the beam, we need to travel down into the ruins of the old tower. But to do this, we need to work out how the fuck to open the door, which was sealed by Archmage Peril, the founder of the second tower. There have been rumours amongst the tower wizards that the key lies in the Water Surge spell, a spell that requires 85 magic. But fortunately, Ariane tells us that simply using Water Surge on the door won't work, so we don't need to get level 85. So we return to Elrond.
The key might lie not in casting that spell, but in understanding it. Perian had the pipe organ installed in the library, and he wrote a treatise on the relationship between magic and music.
And on the second floor, we find the book that he wrote, which is basically just theorizing about the relationship between magic and runes, and contains a diagram of how he believed the notes would be assigned to the commonly used runes. The second book just tells us the rune costs for each of the different water spells.
Oh, all right. If you must play the organ, at least keep to the top manual. It's quietest. Not even Archmage Cedridor could concentrate with a racket from the loud manuals.
Well, I'm sure that'll come in useful if we ever need to distract him from casting a powerful spell. A key pops out, and we head to the old tower.
This is amazing. We may be the first people to come down here for 100 years. The greatest magical innovators of Gielinor once walked this room. We need to get deeper into the ruins to the source of the power beam. It looks like that Rune Guardian is blocking the door.
The Rune Guardian gives us a little personality test of a sorts to determine which of the 4 Hogwarts houses, which of the 4 orders we belong to. Yeah, red wizards are definitely the Slytherins here. And we venture further down into the ruins, destroying absolutely no historical artifacts along the way. And find the base of the power beam surrounded by the vortices we saw earlier.
These vortices look like the one that attacked Wizard Boren. I want to find out what they are. I'll need you to attract a vortex into this circle and keep it there while I examine it.
Okay, I fucking hate this part of the quest. The vortices are awkward enough to click on anyway. They knock you all over the place, refuse to stay still, can't be stunned, and de-aggro constantly. So you can't just stand behind Ariane to, like, safe spot them and hold them there while they're targeting you. I mean, I get this wasn't necessarily meant to be easy, but the one thing I ask you, Jagex, is please stop the bar on the circle from just going down quite so fast. For painfully long minutes that felt more like 40, I shit you not, I was genuinely surprised how short this clip was. The vortex was finally trapped, and now she knows they're soul fragments.
I've heard about putting part of yourself into your work, but the old wizards literally put part of their souls into the power beam.
Well, that doesn't sound very comfortable.
I think there was an enchantment keeping the vortices here, but someone has removed it. I can replace the enchantment that was keeping the vortices here, but it'll take some time. While I do it, you need to go back to the new tower and delay Cedridor's casting of his Icenic Purge.
Back to the organ.
Please don't do that, adventurer! Adventurer, I must insist that you step away from that organ! Break my concentration once more, and you will feel the wrath of the Grand Archmage of the Reborn Tower!
Okay, where did he go? Ariane casts her spell and interrupts the Icenic Purge, and the Archmage sees the spell, which he doesn't appear to recognise, but just decides to leave the beam alone after that, apparently.
It was close, but I managed to restore the enchantment. The vortices are trapped in the ruins again. Thanks for your help, adventurer. I couldn't have done this without you.
But we aren't done. Oh no. We still need to find out who broke the enchantment in the first place and released the vortices. So we're on to the second half of this, Rune Memories, which has just an incredible unlock for low-level accounts, especially Iron Man, giving us access to Cedridor's personal rune essence supply, a chest that will automatically restock with pure essence every time we level up rune crafting. So back in the basement, Ariane wants to cast what sounds like an experimental spell on the Anchor for all teleport spells. Okay, maybe I can see why she was banned from the tower. This seems kind of reckless.
Okay, let's see. Abac Destine Cal Mentor. Oh dear. I must have miscast the spell. I can't seem to move. I think I'm stuck in the power beam.
Oh, what a fucking surprise.
Yes, I'm sure you're finding this very amusing.
So here lies our real goal for the quest. Work out how the original beam was created so we can work out how to free her. She gives us some specially prepared runes, which you pretty simply match with the colour of a vortex, and it gets sucked up. Heading east to the library, we plop the runes down in the chairs and the cutscene plays, showing May the Grey and Celevan the Red, the apprentices of the old tower, discussing the teleportation problem. The Red Master has given it to his student because he believes it's impossible.
You're bypassing line of effect by angling the spell through a secondary plane using runes of law. Do you know what you've got here? I think you might have solved the teleportation problem.
That's not funny, May.
We should show this to Azris. If this is an elementary mistake, she'll have seen it before.
What if it's not an elementary mistake?
You, my friend, will have a major school of magic named after you.
We return to Ariane, who tells us that wizards had apparently known about teleportation for a long time, but had been unable to create new spells until the problem had been solved.
Solving the teleportation problem changed everything. It let the wizards create the Lodestone network, and the Rune Essence teleport spell meant the tower didn't have to rely on a delicate land route to get runes.
She gives us more runes, we slurp up more souls, then go upstairs for another cutscene, where the Green Master Azris is taking credit for poor Celevan's work.
My fellow wizards, this document contains the theoretical framework that will allow us to create new teleport spells.
What you've shown us here is a major breakthrough that deserves recognition. Whose work is this?
It is my own.
But they still need to find a second plane to route the spells through, which she will need the help of the other orders for. a quick check-in with Ariane, and into the studies we head. Next, we're treated to a lovely steam of Zanmaron the Red bollocking his apprentice for sharing his research.
May and you. So both the Green and the Grey Orders saw your idea before I did? Azris presented your idea to the Council as her own work.
They stole my idea.
No, Calavan. They took your idea. They took it when you handed it to them. How many times have I told you that we do not trust the other orders?
Before he says he'll solve the issue of the second plane himself, and the cutscene ends with him summoning a demon.
As a Corax, keeper of the key to the abyss, hear me. By the staff of Armadillo, on which Zamorak impaled the empty lord, I charge you to appear.
Who calls me from the infernal vestibule?
After this, we're treated to yet another cutscene of Zanmaron distributing the details of the finished ritual to the other orders. These quests have just so many cutscenes, and it's just so lore-dense. I've had no idea how to keep this stuff entertaining, or even, like, things that I can take the piss out of. So if you're still watching, thank you for your patience, I guess. But I digress. It's time to finally recreate the ritual and free Ariane. But there is one more thing we need to do, and that's work out how the fuck the ritual was done. There's 3 fragments of the document in the study, along with the diary of a red wizard. And this diary, I get what they were going for and trying to apply that the ritual was intentionally sabotaged, but this is just so painfully obvious that it doesn't match up with any of the wizards we've seen talking, and the best candidates for its author would absolutely be Elrond. To me, it just kind of ruined the twist prematurely, and it just makes Ariane's dismissal of it feel kind of cheap. Like, you could argue that I only thought that because I've done this quest a few times over the years, but this does not at all match with the Calavan that we've met in the cutscenes so far, and definitely does line up with the very faux sincerity that we've seen from Elrond. But anyway, we find the last 2 fragments in the library, and I use the wiki to get their positions right around the circle because I've tried to solve this puzzle on my own before, and I already know I'm way too small brain for it. And of course now we have yet another cutscene for the ritual. Zanmaron warns about breaking the circle after the ritual begins, which of course happens almost immediately, as Perion spots a demon behind Zanmaron. An argument quickly breaks out when May reveals that it was Calavan and not Azris who made the breakthrough. And learning that the ritual's mostly built on red magic, Unea the Blue Master leaves the circle, sending the full force of the magic at Zanmaron, killing him and starting the fire which destroyed the old tower.
Wait, it's happening again! Get down!
So we go back upstairs to get help, speak to Elrond, and finally get the reveal that he orchestrated the whole thing in an attempt to destroy the tower.
Almost as if I planned this whole sequence of events, and my plan is so close to completion that I'm becoming careless about what I say. I have no quarrel with you. Leave now, or be caught up in the tower's destruction.
Before he finishes speaking, Ariane rises up through the beam, and we're treated to a surprisingly fun little sequence of drawing the souls out of Ariane and out of the beam whilst moving up the tower. During this, we find out that Calavan had become bitter after the fall of the tower, eventually creating the sacred tradition of the Staff of Fire, which just seems unnecessarily wordy, and took Elrond on as his apprentice. But young Calavan utterly rejects both him and the idea of destroying the tower. Unea calls Elrond,
"And you are nothing like them, you hateful little man."
Which, well, yeah. And we get this great little interaction between Zanmaron and Elrond that just makes me giggle every time I see it.
Lord Zanmaron! Who are you? And why should I care?
I am heir to the sacred tradition of the Staff of Fire. We have worked in secret for 100 years to bring them down.
Worked in secret for 100 years? Self-important tradition of the magic stick? You're no thing.
And finally, after freeing May, the souls zip into Elrond, teleporting him to the Abyss to safely explode away from the tower.
Don't make me teleport!
This is one time I'll let you use demonic knowledge, Amaron. To the Abyss!
No!
To the Abyss, my fellow wizards.
To the Abyss!
And this absolute slog of 2 quests is done. At the time of writing this script, I have absolutely no idea how long this episode is. All I know is that the script for the first quest is about as long as the entire script for the first 2 episodes. But we have one more quest to cover in the Wizard's Tower, and it just didn't feel right putting it at the beginning of the next episode, which starts off the desert quests. But at least this one's pretty short. So, Imp Catcher, one of the original quests released all the way back in 2001, had a complete overhaul in a ninja update of all things in 2017. No longer do we need to kill an undetermined number of random imps hoping they'll drop the right beads. The quest begins with Mizgog complaining that Greyzag has sent an army of imps to steal his beads. They've spread out to the 4 elemental altars where the beads get their power from. For the phlegmatic? I have no idea how to say that. For the phlegmy bead, we head to Lumbridge to grab a bowl of water from the kitchen and cook it. Then find the imp at the water altar in the Lumbridge swamp, hold his head over the seam to clear his throat, at which point he vomits the bead onto our feet. Lovely. Next at the fire altar we get the choleric bead by just beating the shit out of the angry little fucker and get puked on again. Oh god, why? Then we have the melancholic bead at the earth altar northeast of Varrock, near the ruins of the old Fort Forenthry. This little dude is sad, so we feed him some cliched inspirational statements, which of course results in being thrown up on again. And finally, to the west of Varrock at the air altar, we have a race around the altar with the imp and dig the sanguine bead out of its pre-digested dinner. I'm glad this is done. Return to Mizgog and get the reward.
Oh, thank you! Keep them here. I'll check that they really are my beads before I give you your reward. You'll like it.
Okay, done. So, in the last episode we completed 2 quests that used to be 1, but this wasn't the only time in 2012 where Jagex would rework 1 quest into 2, as 2 months before the Ariane quest double bill, on the 26th of September we got the Ozan quest double bill. These quests would expand on the story considerably and allow us to actually meet one of the most dangerous gods of the Desert Pantheon. And these quests took me 2 hours with more voice-acted cutscenes, so once again I'll do what I can to summarise, complain and poke fun for your entertainment, but don't worry, from the next episode we'll be back on track with the normal format, and hopefully I'll get better at doing this by the time the next voice-acted quest rolls around. The quest starts with the signature hero Ozan calling us over, but he's not just calling a random passerby. Apparently, Xenia has told him about us just like she did with Ariane. I swear, you save one randomer from a cult.
I've got a bit of a situation here and I could use some help.
Noom, an old friend of Ozan's, has gotten mixed up with a gang in Draenor known as the Skulls.
I need someone on the inside. I'm a bit too well known. Noom is holed up in the cellar of this house next to us. Pose as a thug and try to get yourself recruited. Then see what you can find out about Noom.
So we bang on the trapdoor in the house next to him.
What do you want?
Let me in or I'll poke your eyes out.
Yeah, you seem alright. Come on in.
Okay then, that was way too easy.
Welcome to the scullery. I take it you're here to join the Skulls?
Inside we meet Noom, who gives us another personality test, which results in you getting one of 4 gang/mafia related titles.
Okay, final question. A stranger disrespects you in public. What do you do?
Kick them in the hypotheticals. Great answer, let's go with that.
Yes, you make an immediate example of them. Welcome to the Skulls. Do you have any questions about the gang?
So we ask what jobs are currently in the works, and he tells us about a kidnapping plot. and gives us one final test for joining the Skulls, which is work out where their actual HQ is. So we go back outside and tell Ozan what we've learned.
He said he was sticking it to his old employer. Surely he can't mean from back when he was a palace guard in Al-Qarid. What are you up to, Noom? We should wait for him to surface, then follow him. Are you ready to trail Noom back to his HQ? Good, but you'll need to get rid of your follower first.
No, my little vampire kitty blood pouncer thing. They're a vampire. They can be sneaky. Actually, you know what? That's a good point. I never thought of a name for this little guy. How about you give me your suggestions in the comments and I'll pick out a few and do a poll. Or pick the most liked one or something. This is blatantly where I get like one comment for it. But anyway. After this, Noom emerges from the underground bar and we somewhat sneakily and stealthily stalk, surreptitiously seeking the Skull's secret sanctuary. Why did I do that?
Ah, Pigzilla. Tomorrow's dinner will be informant. Your protection money is due tomorrow. Yours too, Yango. I'm beat. Play something good. That's better.
He just went into the old jail.
And you'll never guess what happens when we finally enter that jail. That's right, we're treated to our first gratuitously long cutscene of the quest. Noom and Ozan argue for a little bit, revealing that Ozan was responsible for Noom losing his job before Leela, the daughter of Osman, Al-Kharid's spy master, appears on the scene.
So, you've heard of me. What am I saying? Of course you've heard of me. I'm Ozan.
Yeah, I really don't like this guy.
I know who you are. You are still a smarmy git.
Another argument breaks out, and this time it's between Leela and Ozan.
You have to trust us.
I'm loading my bow. Don't shoot. Or you could shoot, but that would ruin my favorite shirt.
Do it.
I will trust you. For now, but only because I need information too. Do not think this makes us friends.
Leela reveals the kidnapping has already happened, the victim, the Prince Ali. So they agree to team up and question Noom and just kind of assume the adventurer is going to torture him. And because I guess we already know that the adventurer is most definitely chaotic neutral, they step forward in a very threatening manner. But we don't actually have to torture him because apparently simply the reminder that prison food isn't actually very good is enough to break him.
How much is your imagination going to feed you when all we give you is bread and water?
Hang on, let's not do anything rash here. A man cannot live off bread alone. I need meat and cheese, ale, fruit, wine, coffee. Oh, gods, no, don't take away my coffee. Okay, I'll talk.
The previously unheard of, unless you did the original version of this quest, Lady Kelly was the mastermind behind the plot, and the handoff to her would be happening shortly on the shoreline to the south of us. We arrive at the perfect time to intervene, because of course we do.
Everybody stop! Hand over the prince now, and I might only kill you a bit.
Not the most convincing demand, little man. Make one wrong move and I'll kill the prince now!
Don't give them what they want.
You're outnumbered and outmatched. You two don't stand a chance. Make that 3.
How did she hear that? She wasn't even here.
The prince is coming with me. Try to stop us, and he dies.
After being ordered to, the Skulls refuse to attack us because they haven't been paid yet. Which, you know, fair.
You will do as I command.
Let's do this!
Yeah, that didn't take long. The puzzles in these early quests are a lot harder than the actual combat. But anyway, one of the skulls has dropped a ransom note. Follow the path of the sun into the lion's mouth, the Emir's heart for the prince's life.
That's barbaric! They want the Emir's heart in exchange for his son's life?
Not quite, but... well, we'll get there. Which Leela suggests bringing to her father while she continues tracking the prince and the Lady Kelly. So she gives us her passphrase to prove we're working with her, and...
my passphrase is Zomorodnega.
yeah, with my accent, I'm not even going to try and say that. Ozan teleports with us to Lumbridge. We travel through the pass, which you don't have to pay for anymore even before doing this quest, and we get stopped at the palace gates.
But we have urgent business. We must speak with Spymaster Osman immediately.
Oh, you must you? No one is to come in.
It's about the kidnap of Prince Ali.
What's this nonsense?
We just saw him being woman-handled into a boat headed for the desert. And if I'm not mistaken, his kidnappers were wearing blue and gold, the colors of Menafos.
You're one of those pro-war nuts trying to stir up trouble.
Okay, we got another rude interruption. And normally with this type of lore that actually is relevant to the story, I sprinkle it in when the characters are kind of talking about it, but I never really found any decent parts during these two quests to talk about this, so here's a little bit of extra context. Throughout the early 5th Age, Alcarid and Menafos endured a long and bloody war. And this only came to an end in the last 50 or 60 years when a peace deal was negotiated between the Emir of Alcarid and the Pharaoh of Menafos. It was expected that after this Menafos would open its gates to the rest of the world, which it hadn't done since, I think, the beginning of the 5th Age. Unfortunately, a plague befell the people of its twin city of Sophanem, so the whole city went under quarantine. The treaty between the two major desert cities so far has been maintained, but it's a relatively tenuous peace. But it's one that has endured to the current day, which brings us to the quest. So, back to the video, I guess.
Go on, tell me some more. Make me arrest you.
Yes, do that. Arrest us.
Lock us up. Take us to your leaders.
Unfortunately, the god doesn't fall for this and doesn't even believe that Ozan is Ozan. So we're gonna have to find another way in. So it's time to do some parkour. Onto the roof of the crafting shop, we start our journey to the palace. And I really wish we had actual rooftop agility in RS3. I mean, maybe not this exact course.
Excuse us!
It's a little convoluted for a standard course, but it works fine for the quests. I found it pretty fun when I wasn't getting fed up of getting locked in place until Ozan caught up on every single obstacle. But I loved rooftop agility in old school, and it'd be nice to see a version of it in this game. And they're reworking a lot of skills at the moment, and agility definitely needs some love. Now that it's practically useless. But anyway, we finish on the roof of the bank and Ozan shoots an arrow and rope across the gap to the palace, where it rests into what looks like sandstone brickwork, which I'm sure is super stable and can definitely hold the weight of 2 athletic, fully grown men. Maybe they're magic arrows, I don't know. We shimmy across and arrive at the Emir's window with perfect timing to overhear a conversation between the Emir, his most trusted advisor, the Grand Vizier Hassan, Osman the Spymaster and Leela's father, and Jabari, an ambassador from Menafos.
Be careful with your accusations, Spymaster. The Pharaoh sent me here as an envoy of peace. Menafos is not in the business of kidnapping.
No, it's just warmongering and slavery these days, isn't it?
Enough, gentlemen, please keep your tongues civil in the Emir's presence.
It is all right, Hassan. I would hear this plainly. The peace must be maintained. But my answer is no, Ambassador. No Menafite will ever sit on Al-Khalid's throne, even if only as custodian. You would leave your city leaderless? I am not dead yet, Jabari. Very well, wise one. I shall take it back to my Pharaoh. Hassan, please see our guest out.
As this goes on, we learn about the Karadib, a gemstone that is sacred to the Emir and the one price he will not pay to return his son. So the next plan is to steal it, because Ozan knows better apparently. We drop through a conveniently open skylight into the royal treasury. Ozan knows that the heart of the desert is locked in the display at the south end of the room, but doesn't know how to retrieve it. And we find a note in the chest that literally tells you how to solve the puzzle, with a story of the god Het interacting with an emir of old. The thief protested, but to prove his accusation, the emir sliced open the thief's belly and out poured the demon. Fucking hell. Brutal. Balance the weights on the balance thing to find the heavyweight. I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it. Put the heavyweight on the display thing. Take the diamond. Alarm. Shit.
Someone's in the vault. Guard, get this door open.
Quick, we have to get to the roof before... They cut the rope!
Osman enters and we have a quick little conversation with him, trying to prove we're there for the right reasons, which of course Osman doesn't believe, so after a lot of unnecessary rhetoric, we finally give him the passphrase, which we, probably should have just fucking led with.
It's true she would only freely give such information to an ally, and only in dire circumstances. Very well. If you can tell me my daughter's passphrase, I'll be more inclined to believe you.
And I'm still not going to say it.
Okay, let's for a moment say I believe you. Why did Leela not return with you?
She pretty much ordered us here to get some aid.
That certainly sounds like her. But you must know my orders mean I cannot allow you to leave with the diamonds. Now follow me. You can tell your little tale to the Emir.
So we do just that, but the Emir still refuses to budge on the whole don't use the Kharadib to save his son thing. At which point, Ozan gets very worked up.
You said yourself it is just a diamond!
The Emir's word is law.
No!
Ozan, mate, maybe we should just go.
We're not leaving until we convinced you! How can you be so callous?
Do not presume to judge me, child. I love my son. I also love my people, and they must come first. If, as you say, you wish to save my son, then I beg you to do so. But you are not taking my heart.
Hassan, do something. There is nothing to be done. The Emir has passed. If Menephos hears of this before the prince's return, we are lost.
After that tragic scene, we're told that we aren't going to be held accountable for the Emir's death, nor are we to be punished for breaking into the treasury, and Ozan's previous crimes have been forgiven, and he is free to return to the city properly.
And as for your part in this, the city of Al-Kharid rewards you.
Osman then asks us for our help once more in dealing with the kidnappers. So I had a break after recording this quest to go and work on the first 2 episodes, and by the time I came back there was a new UI and a graphical overhaul of the free-to-play areas, which, and I've seen a very mixed reception online to these changes, particularly the UI, but personally, I love it. I love all of it. It makes the game feel a lot more connected to its roots in a lot of ways. But it's time to grab Ozan from outside the palace and prepare for yet another cutscene where Osman tells us that the Path of the Sun mentioned in the ransom note is linked to the Kharadib somehow, before revealing that we hadn't actually stolen the real Kharadib.
By getting you to follow this Path of the Sun, the kidnappers ensure that they are delivered the real diamond. There is no way to even find Prince Ali without taking the Kharadib, let alone rescue him. I shall not dishonor myself or the Emir's memory by disobeying his last order.
Well, it certainly sounds like that's what you're about to do. First, he heavily implies that the real diamond is in fact inside the heavyweight from earlier, which, yeah, remember that bit about cutting open the heaviest thief? It was right there. And sure enough, he agrees to turn a blind eye to us stealing the real Kharadib in order to rescue the prince. So we grab the weight without needing to weigh it on the scales again. Parrot dive off the bank's roof.
This is going to be fun.
Can we go again?
and head towards Shanty Pass, where the border of the true desert lies far from the oasis of Het, where the heat is so extreme we will need to carry water skins to prevent death from dehydration, to prevent death from dehydration in the heat of the pounding sun. That bit was harder to say than the fucking stealthily stupid bit.
Where are you taking me?
Excuse me? We're not taking you anywhere. Me and my friend here are heading into the desert.
I do not wish to go there. I'm scared.
Like I just said, we're the ones going?
Please take me back home.
Right. I think you've had too much sun, Effendi.
Oh, hello, Effendi. I'm sorry I did not see you there. Are you heading into the desert?
After this strange interaction, Shanty provides us with some free water skins. We get another cutscene where the adventurer and Ozan discuss the weirdness, and we venture into the desert to be greeted by, you guessed it, another fucking cutscene.
Let's crack open that fat little ambassador and see what we've won!
Hello, beautiful!
The diamond screeches from being opened, and a pedestal with a carving of the face of the god Het rises from the sand.
Well, that's new.
Spin the gnome on round to the picture of Het, and a light pops out, giving us the first part of the Path of the Sun, which leads us to another pedestal and another cutscene.
Why won't you take me back home?
What? That's not a very bandity thing to say.
Take me back to the palace.
Oh my gods. It's the diamond. The Karidib is talking to us through him.
Take me back, or you will die.
We'll see about that.
Who are these two? Kill them.
This is way too... Oh shit, Ozan, are you okay? Not much of a world-class adventurer losing half your HP to some level 2s. Ozan realises the Karadib is trying to kill us, and the adventurer starts to get cold feet.
And leave the prince to die? If we don't rescue the prince, Menopause will start up the war again. How many innocent people will die then?
Well, when you put it like that, we should continue on. One of the bandits dropped the sundial gnome on, so we reattach and spin it round to the symbol of Ap Meekin.
That's two. Looks like the next one is northwest of here.
The third sundial appears to have been swallowed up by the desert, and after the diamond lets out another screech, we soon will be too.
I've got a bad feeling about this.
Hang on, it's more of a sinking feeling. Quicksand! Quicksand's not that dangerous, if you know how to escape.
Just get your legs up and lay flat. Make yourself buoyant. It's not working.
Why isn't it working? This isn't how quicksand works! Not real quicksand!
And why would it be real quicksand? There's clearly some magic involved here. Ozan, are you sure you're a world-famous adventurer? Or is this more of a Gilderoy Lockhart kind of situation?
My books wouldn't have sold half as well if people didn't think I'd done all those things.
You can try any of these options. None of them will work, but they will lead to more dialogue with Ozan, which again I skipped. Instead, just accepting our fate by selecting Do Nothing 4 times.
Nothing's working. We can't get out! This can't be how it ends! Leela, she'll never know that I...
You fall through the quicksand into a small cavern. As you fall, the Karadib falls out of your backpack. It screeches again. So we've got to find the Gnomon again, but every time we enter a passage we get turned around in the darkness, arriving back in the chamber.
What am I sitting on? Oh, hey! Over here! I, found that missing sundial piece. I absolutely wasn't just sitting on it. Honest!
Is there anything you can do?
We align the sundial with Krondis, illuminating the tunnel.
We'll just have to hope it leads us to the diamond. Don't go so fast. My leg still hurts. Just need to walk it off. I'll be fine. It's totally not just numb from sitting on that sundial piece for so long. Shh. Can you hear that? What is that noise? And that smell! Oh! I think it's getting darker too. Looks bad, sounds bad, smells worse. But we need that blasted diamond back! I can just make out a tunnel ahead. Oh, I can't see a thing.
Okay, let's just pretend that's not there. That's better.
With that noise and that smell, I'm almost glad. Aye! My shin! Oh, what did I just step in? Hang on. I think I can feel a torch. That's definitely not a torch. Sorry about that.
Okay, what are they implying that he just grabbed?
Ah, but that is... dung calphites. Why did it have to be dung calphites? Any one of these calphites could be rolling the diamond around. It's a needle in a haystack. Well, a diamond in some, yeah.
The adventurer realizes they can hear the diamond trilling somewhere in the calphite nursery. So now we've got to cut into the dung balls to find the diamond, which my dumbass instantly tried to do with my bare hands. But thankfully, there's a bronze scimitar near the entrance. You've got to slice through 3 empty ones before the sparkling balls will begin to appear along with a minor twinkling sound. You've then got to cut open another 3, giving us a sapphire, emerald and ruby, before we finally find the diamond. A cutscene plays because of course it does, and Leela drops down a rope from above allowing us to escape. Walk over to the sundial, another cutscene. I've spent 2 hours recording these quests and I swear there's only like 20 minutes of actual fucking gameplay in the whole thing. I mean, I can't argue that the story is at least interesting though. This one is literally just Leela, the adventurer, and Ozan catching up on what's happened since we left her in Draenor. Scarbarus' sundial points to Scarbarus.
That's the last of them. It's pointing southwest.
And we run over to the ruins of a temple to Amascut the Devourer, where we find Lady Kelly waiting with the prince and her 2 henchmen. They argue over the diamond for a few minutes before the diamond chimes in, begging us not to hand it over, before Lady Kelly uses whatever power she displayed earlier to force the adventurer into passing it to her.
Finally, after all these centuries, it's mine.
Centuries?
In some ways, I've been after this heart since the day I was born. And now that I hold it in my hands, it's so small, so hard, so cold. That explains so much.
Hey Kelly, quit with the crazy. Just give us the prince.
Crazy! You dare call me crazy! I am beautiful! I am powerful! I'll pop your limbs from their sockets! I'll strip the flesh from your bones! I'll devour your soul! I'm not crazy! I am a goddess! I am a mascot!
A mascot?
Okay. Oh man. I didn't want to poke any fun at any of the voice acting in this, but fucking hell. I mean, it's still better than anything I could manage, to be fair. And the Amascut sends her thugs after us. Some quipping happens, and then we get what could realistically be called a boss fight with Apep and Heru. They do have mechanics. Our damage is capped at 50, so it takes a little longer than it should, but they really don't hit even through just tier 1 armor. And I didn't even get to see Heru's blinding ability because he died too quickly. We free the prince.
Thank you, my friends. You should not have given her the carrot Ib. I cannot believe my father would have allowed it.
Tell him the unfortunate news and prepare to head back to Al-Kharid.
You 3 should definitely do that. It's been an honor rescuing the prince with you, my friends.
We would not have got this far without you.
That's probably the nicest thing you've ever said to me, Leela. But I cannot return to Al-Kharid until I've reclaimed that diamond. Somehow. From a goddess hell-bent on destruction. A 100% crazy, perpetually angry, scarily vengeful, bona fide goddess.
Leela begins arguing with her father over Ozan's inability to return to the city before returning to her post in Draenor. Meanwhile, deep in the Caridian desert...
What message does the Emir have for me?
None anymore, my lady. My mission was a success. A tiny dose of poison in the Emir's nightly incense did the trick.
Excellent. I may need your skills as an ambassador again in the future.
Did you get the heart, my lady?
I almost didn't. That beetle-brained fool Scabarras almost ruined things, but he's poked his head out of the sand now. I'll deal with him soon enough, and then nothing will stand in my way. Return to Menafos. Attend the Pharaoh. I have business here.
You have shown yourself to be a most efficient agent, and for that you must be rewarded. Indeed, I may have more work in future for someone with your ability.
And the reward from this one actually gave me 5 agility, which means I can now surge about to traverse the world a little quicker. Well, when I actually remember to anyway. So after the last 4 long and 1 very short, story-heavy, voice-acted quests, we have a series of very short quests to do next. And it would be during an extremely simple and quick fetch quest that I would make a mistake that would have far more drastic consequences than I could have ever imagined. But before that, we have Ernest the Chicken, one of the oldest quests in the game, released all the way back in January of 2001 during RuneScape Classic, and unlike many other quests, has had no real changes in the last 25 years. There was an update in 2009, but as far as I know, this just changed the reward to include feathers and eggs. Maybe some of the dialogue, I don't know. And every time I go through Draenor, Jagex tries to make me do the necromancy quest line, and I've only got to wait like 20 plus in-game years to do that. Outside the haunted Draenor manor, we meet Veronica. After getting lost, her fiancé Ernest stopped in the manor to ask for directions. This was an hour ago, so she's getting a bit worried and asks us to go look for him. There's a sign on the door that says, "Adventurers beware, going in doesn't mean you'll come out again." That's pretty ominous. And after stepping through the door, it slams shut and locks behind us. On the top floor, we find one Professor Odenstein. Ernest agreed to help him test his Poulet-morph machine, which turned him into a literal chicken. Because RuneScape, I guess. Immediately after this, though, the poltergeists in the house broke the machine and hid its components around the ground. Pressure gauge is in the fountain outside, which is filled with piranhas for some strange and unknown reason, so he grabs some fish food from the first floor, some poison from the kitchen pantry, which seems like a rather strange place to keep it, remind me never to have lunch at this place, and let ourselves out through the back door. Kill the piranhas and grab the pressure gauge. There's a key and some compost, which opens the room behind the stairs. Kill the skeleton, grab the tube, then through a trapdoor in a secret room, because of course every spooky building needs secret rooms. We come across the most infamous part of this quest, what Odenstein referred to as his IQ testing room. Levers go up, levers go down, some doors open, some doors close, fiddle with it until you get it right. But thank you Mr. Wiki, because I didn't want to waste time doing this. 2 minutes later, the last door opens and the oil can is ours. The machine gets repaired, Ernest is a human again, and apparently has no memory of being a chicken. Count Draenor, brother to Luernial Draken, the overlord of much of the land of Mauritania, is one of the few, if not the last, surviving vampire trapped in Misthalin since the blessing of the river Salve in the 1200th year of the 4th Age. Which brings us on to Vampyre Slayer. Released 1 week after the last quest, this quest has also undergone very little change, having just some minor graphical and balancing reworks to the fight and rewards. To start, we talk to Morgan, the Saradominus missionary. Praise Saradomin, he has brought you here to save us all. No. He tells us that the Count has been demanding blood payments from the village under threat of terrorizing. Isn't that by definition terrorizing? And asks for our help in vanquishing him. He then recommends that we speak to a retired vampire slayer known as Dr. Harlow to get some advice, which the adventurer really is not happy about. I mean, seriously, why does he look so angry about this? So Morgan explains that the years of horrors turned the Doctor into an alcoholic who spends his days in the Blue Moon Inn in Varrock. Hope he didn't see us just walk in and kill that guy the other week. Upstairs, we don't murder his wife, because you can't anymore, and retrieve some garlic from the drawers next to the bed, which I'm sure smelled fucking lovely. Then in Varrock, we meet the famous Slayer, pissed as a fart and demanding more alcohol. So, next on the list of sketchy shit the adventurer does, we enable Harlow's addiction and buy him a pint, which instantly seems to sober him up and makes him slur less, as he explains the art of staking a vampire through the heart to ensure they're finished for good. A tactic that, if I recall correctly, we will never use again when killing any other vampire throughout the game. No mention of Blisterwood, Blessed Silver, or randomness being our ally, although this could just be because of his weakened state. Vampires on this side of the south apparently can be taken down with normal weapons. But anyway, he gives us his spare stake and hammer, and we're off to gear for the fight. I was a bit more cautious with this fight compared to the last few. Like I said in the first episode, I did die the last time I fought him, and although he is weak to magic, I decided to switch to melee because my magic gear and levels were roughly the same as they were last time, and it'd be nice not to lose my hardcore status to Count Draenor of all people. But this is the problem with having super easy combat leading up to this point. There's just this sudden difficulty spike, and if you are a new player just going through the quests, it's going to come out of nowhere. That combined with a relatively massive experience reward from this quest, maybe they should move this into adventure. Maybe they should move this into the adventure era of the timeline, or just make the earlier combat a little bit more difficult, or both. Both is good, but I digress again. The dickhead's dead. Morgan gives us a reward, which I dumped into magic because it's my favourite combat style, and it got us all the way from level 13 to 23. Which goes above my level cap for the era, so I can't train it anymore, but I can still use it for combat quests. Next we have our second mini-quest that used to be a quest, the Witch's Potion. In the village with the most sexually charged name in all of Gielinor, we meet the green-skinned, hook-nosed, wart-covered witch Hetty. Well, that took a quick 180. She needs some help locating the last few ingredients for a magic potion. Onions are in the field to the north, and I really should have grabbed a couple extra for the next quest. Then when arriving at the magic shop in Port Sarim, I decided to upgrade my magic gear, buying a full set of Imp Hide, plus a Spider Wand and Orb. I then impulsively bought a stack of air runes and tried to buy the water runes as well, but oh shit. This left me with just barely enough money to buy the Eye of Newt, and will cause issues for me for far longer than I anticipated. The armour looks okay though. I kinda don't like that it makes me look like a red wizard, but that's a me problem, and I'll have to wait until my next Premier token to see if I can find a class appropriate outfit for magic. That's rude. Killed a cow in Lumbridge and committed the cardinal sin of overcooking a steak, and finally chopped off a rat's tail in the house overrun with them just to the south of Hetty. Gave her the ingredients, drank the potion, sweet another magic level, and then we have Goblin Diplomacy. Another quest from 2001 that has had very little change over the years, save for one beautiful quality of life change in 2006. On the northern border of Misthalin and the desolate waste of the wilderness, two goblin generals are arguing over what colour armour their tribe should wear. So we offer to help them choose a colour. First, we'll need 3 dyes for the armour. Red berries from the south of Varrock for the red dye. I then realised that each of the dyes cost 5 gold to make, and the 2 woad leaves required for the blue dye would cost 25 GP each. So rather than doing the sensible thing and just selling the water runes back to a shop, I sat and pickpocketed 100 gold from some random dude in Lumbridge for a couple of minutes. Spent half my stack on the leaves, then returned to Ribbington to grab a couple more onions for the yellow dye. Aggie in Draenor made the dyes. Then we need the armour, which you don't need to kill goblins for, just look around the village for 3 crates. First, the goblins have Grubfoot model some orange armour, which they don't like because it clashes with their skin colour. Story of my fucking life, mate. Then we try blue armour, which they don't like because it's not earthy enough, and finally we put Grubfoot in the original brown armour that pretty much all surface goblins wear, which of course they love, and we get massively over-rewarded to soften the blow of this colossal fucking waste of time. So on to the next one, Pirate's Treasure. In the coastal town of Port Sarim, the adventurer comes across the infamous pirate Redbeard Frank, and still poverty-stricken since the water rune debacle, tells his magnificent gingerbeard that we're in search of treasure. But no treasure comes for free, and Frank agrees to help us if we can help him with his lack of rum problem. Not just any rum, mind. No, that won't be good enough for Frank. He wants Karamjan rum. So we agree to help, and Frank explains that we'll need to find a way to smuggle it into the port, as customs has recently clamped down on the export of spirits. And the adventurer just instantly agrees to this. Well, of course, the laws of the land don't apply to famous adventurers like myself. But anyway, I realised that once again I didn't have enough money to finish the quest, and went and sold the random shit I had left in my inventory in Lumbridge. Then in Gerrt's fishy business, there's a white apron that we'll leave for later, so we stole it while Gerrt's back was turned. Okay, maybe he was looking right at us, but he didn't seem to mind. 30 gold gets us to Musa Point on the northeastern coast of Karamja. There's a bar just west of the docks, where we're able to buy the rum, and just opposite there's a banana plantation, and a scheme begins to grow in the adventurer's mind. First, we steal 20 bananas, then we go and talk to the plantation owner and ask for a job. Seems like I might have done those 2 steps the wrong way round. He gives us the job and tells us there's a crate outside ready to be filled with bananas, and confirms the crate will be delivered to Port Sarim. Fill the crate and only needed 10 bananas. Get our payment from Luthus, and after a quick pat down by the customs officer, return to Port Sarim. Then with the apron equipped, apply for a job at Wyden's food store, search the banana crate in the back for the rum, and deliver it to the great big bushy beard. He tells us of a time he served under One-Eyed Hector, up until his untimely demise at the hands of customs and excise agents, and gives you a key to Hector's chest, located in his room at the Blue Moon Inn in Varrock. With any luck, his treasure will be there. With any luck. So we just did all that and you aren't even sure if we're going to get fucking rewarded. The chest has a miraculous little transformation and spits out a note, which points us to a spot in Falador Park. An angry gardener tries to stop us from digging up the treasure, so some casual murder. Next on the list is Druidic Ritual. This quest released all the way back in February of 2002 and was extensively written almost exactly 10 years later. This gives us our first introduction to the religion that's built up around Guthix, the god of balance, and the last, or first depending on your perspective, the 3 major gods worshipped by mankind. Just to the north of Tavali we find a stone circle, a place of worship for the druids, and speak to Cake Mix.
What brings you to our holy monument? You have about you the air of a wandering hero, and I sense you can aid us.
He wants to give aid to the soldiers of Berthorpe who have been suffering raids from the trolls of the mountains to the north. He tells us to visit Samfew, a herbalist in Tavali, to create a potion known as the Ointment of Imbalance, which they hope will alert Guthix to the chaos the trolls are causing.
What can I do for you, young'un?
I'm saying nothing.
I've got a list of things I need you to retrieve for the potion. Don't you go worrying about mixing it up. Just leave that to me. I need you to get me a vial of untainted living water. You can get me some wandering rum. And while you're by the lake, you can catch me a stonefish and get some of the scales.
In a cave that used to be part of the tutorial and where you'd first meet Ariane just before fighting a troll named Magic Stick, we find the living water. Then in the lake to the south, we use some gold coins to lure in a rock shift and chisel off some scales. Then on the south shore, we found some wandering wormwood.
Oh, that's the stuff. Let's get this potion sorted then.
Then we get a short closing cutscene in which some leaves go on some stones.
In the name of all beasts and plants, from the humblest mouse to the mightiest of dragons, from the tiniest blade of grass to the tallest oak.
What are you gabbling about, young Cake Mix? The ritual just calls for you pouring the ointment on the stone. Are you trying to put us all to sleep?
Those 2 quests should definitely have been in the last episode. Both of them are some of the oldest quests in the game, and they also fit neatly into that little group of random little nothing burgers spread across Misthalin and Asgarnia. I mean, well, I suppose we did get a little bit of lore from the last one, but especially as the next little block of quests are set in Kandarin, around the split city of Ardoin. But first I need to actually get there, and I was about to run across White Wolf Mountain before I realised that this would break my organic discovery rule. While I do technically have access to the mountain pass, it would also force me to run through at least one town I don't yet have access to. Fortunately, there is a direct route we can take by chartering a boat from Port Sarim. Unfortunately, this requires gold, and relative to my account at the moment, it's a rather large sum. Now normally this would be an easy fix, jump on into the Stronghold of Security and grab a quick and easy 10k. However, because of the same organic discovery rule, I won't have access to Barbarian Village until I get to Gunner's Ground, which is quest number 57, and I think I'm on like quest 18. So instead I just grabbed everything I'd earned so far from the quests, plus the water runes that had caused this trouble in the first place, and went and sold them all in Lumbridge, and depleted nearly all of that wealth on a single boat trip to Port Gazard. In the monastery just to the south... Oh fuck, I need a jug for this. I can't get one in Ardoin yet, even if there is one there, and I can't access the lodestone. Fuck. Back to Lumbridge, sold 100 of my air runes, grabbed a jug of water, and finally we can start this so-called quest released in 2002. Monk's Friend. In the monastery south of Ardoin, we meet Brother Omad. He's not been able to sleep since he's been kept awake by Brother Andro's son, who in turn hasn't been able to sleep since some thieves broke in and stole his blankie. What kind of asshole steals a kid's blanket? Alright, let's sort these pricks out. The thieves' hideout is hidden in a circle of stones, which is surprisingly hard to spot with the updated graphics. Either that or I'm just blind. Oh no, these guys are scary. Yoink. Ha ha ha. Hey look, someone's having a party. We return the blanket and ask if Omad needs any more help, which of course he does. You just couldn't keep your mouth shut, could you? I'm sorry. They're having a party to celebrate the little unnamed Andro's son's first birthday. Oh, that's sweet. It's also a great excuse for a drink. Ever wanted confirmation that this is a British game? Everything revolves around alcohol. Brother Cedric was supposed to be bringing the wine, but he hasn't arrived yet, so we go out to look for him. And find him 20 feet from the monastery, surrounded by barrels of wine next to his broken cart. Gee, I wonder what happened here. We give him the jug of water to help him sober up, chop down a nearby tree to repair the cart, and head back to Brother Omad for the party and our reward. From one fetch quest to another, and these should definitely be mini-quests these days, next on our laundry list of quests is Clock Tower. Released roughly a month after the last quest, and god, do I really need to go into it with this one? Did I really need to on like some of the last few? But anyway, I needed a bucket of water for this quest and did something dumb. I teleported to Lumbridge again. I knew I'd need money to get back, so I went to do some fishing, until I realised off camera that this was a stupid way to make money, so I sold the remainder of my runes, thinking I could easily make some more at the magic shop in Port Sarim, hoping I'd get more for them from a specialist shop. Then ran to the Wizard's Tower to grab a Wicked Hood before realising three things. First, the only place to get a Wicked Hood for free is in Berthel, and I can't go there yet. Secondly, due to the way the update was added to the lore, as Wizard Phoenix choosing to open the runespan to the public, it's not available in the storyline till, oh, I don't know, after we've done Thok Your Block Off, most of the way into the legendary era of the timeline, and finally, that I wouldn't even be able to train runecrafting through the Abyss until I'd done another 90-ish quests and mini-quests. So as you've been watching, I did some runecrafting the old-fashioned way. Well, not as old school old-fashioned. Thankfully, the altar got moved to the west of Varrock, West Bank, in 2009, which makes it a lot quicker. There's a broken clock, and Brother Kojo, the guy who looks after the clock, wants us to fix it for him, because no one in Gielinor is capable of doing anything for themselves, apparently. Basically, there's 4 coloured cogs that go on 4 coloured spindles on 4 floors of the tower. The black cog has been perpetually heating up in what looks like an endless basement fire, so I might want to tell Kojo about this before the cogs are the least of his worries, which goes on the bottom spindle. Next to the red cog, which is guarded by some ogres for some reason. What the hell has Brother Kojo been doing down here? Which goes on the ground floor. Down the alley for the white cog, we find some rat poison. Feed it to some ratties, who hurl themselves at a metal door until their death throes shake it loose. What the fuck? And find the white cog, which goes on the top floor. And finally for the... There's a fucking bucket right there! Oh god, why did I do all that work for a bucket? Fuck! And finally, for the blue cog, we go down to the trapdoor just to the south of Ardoin Zoo to follow this long-ass path, push through a secret wall, and get attacked by a dungeon rat avenging its fallen brethren from earlier. The last cog goes on the first floor, and that's another quest done. Now we're finally onto a quest that actually has some semblance of lore and story. It's time for the second quest in the Rune Mysteries questline, Hazeel Cult. Another quest from 2002 that saw significant changes in 2012, which included changes to the dialogue, the addition of cutscenes at the end of the quest, and the effective removal of the valve puzzle. We start by talking to Sir Cyril Carnelian in his mansion south of Ardoin Castle, a self-absorbed pompous prick whose family have apparently been an important part of Ardoin politics for many generations, and someone who apparently starts conversations by ranting at people they've never met. Well, I guess we did just walk straight into his house, and rather than antagonising him more, which Jagex does give you the option to do, we simply ask him what's wrong, and he lets us know that a cult has broken in multiple times over the last few months, but have only taken an old suit of armour, and demonstrating only the most accurate of RS3 social skills, asks for help off the person he just shouted at. For a modest cash reward, of course. Yeah, okay then. We do have some inkling of where to look though, as his old butler followed the cultists to their hideout before mysteriously dying in his sleep the next night. That's awful. No, it's okay. A replacement arrived the next day. He's been great. I think prick might have been too nice a word for this guy. Before going after the cult, we have to find 5 valves around the area that will affect the flow of water in the cave. This used to be an actual puzzle, but now you can only turn them the correct way. Inside the cave we meet Clivet. So that two-faced, cold-hearted old snob made you fall for his propaganda, eh? Sir Cyril Carnelian is a man of honour. Where did you get that idea from? Clivet explains that the Carnelian home was originally built by the Majorat follower of Zamorak known as Lord Hazeel. But many years ago, in the early years of the 5th Age, Saradominus overthrew the Zamorakians who were then ruling Ardoin, and Lord Hazeel, as a Majorat, the alien liches of RuneScape, made preparations for the event of his eventual demise. At this point we have a choice: side with the cult and revive Hazeel, or side with the Carnelians and retrieve the armour. This choice will affect the ritual of the Majorat quest much later down the line, but from Dishonour Among Thieves, even later in the story, it will presume that he was revived, unless there's something in my research that I missed that explains his sudden appearance at that point. I chose not to revive him, as although the Carnelians seem like hateful rich snobs who, yeah, compared to the Zamorakians, they seem to be the lesser of two evils, and the adventurer doesn't typically go against the wishes of the quest giver. Also, if you summon Hazeel, you murder the Carnelians' family dog, and just no, I'm not fucking doing that. After this, Clivet jumps onto the nearby raft and we follow, which takes us to the cult's hideout. We demand the armour back from Alimony, I don't know if that's how it's pronounced, but that's what I'm going with, who reveals that the Carnelian's new butler is part of the cult, and attacks us. That worked really well, mate. He drops the armour, which we return to Cyril, accuse the butler, who of course denies it, which Cyril believes, and gives him the bulk of our reward. Twat. Upstairs, we search the cupboard in the master bedroom, which triggers a cutscene where we find some poison and a cultist's amulet, proving the butler's guilt before he's taken away by the guards. Next on the list was Sheepherder, and despite it being the first part of what is probably one of my favourite storylines in Gillinor, I fucking hate it. I can barely remember the last time I did it in RS3, but I do remember it taking me upwards of like 3 hours the last time I did it in Old School. Just a few weeks before a car hit me and made sure I would never play Old School again. The reason for it taking me so long is nothing short of my own total incompetence, and perhaps shows why I favour controller these days. I really was never very good or accurate with a mouse and keyboard. But anyway, I wasn't ready to put myself through that ordeal yet, and fucked off to do some skilling for half an hour, finishing off the attack potions from the supplies rewarded from Druidic Ritual, and doing some more Slayer. Nosferatu evolved into Teenage Nosferatu, and then I put the game down for 2.5 weeks. I really didn't want to do Sheepherder. Upon coming back, it was most of the way through February, so I checked if I had another Premier token for another new outfit, which of course I didn't, because, well, honestly, I'm not sure if it's because I didn't read the benefits for Ironman properly on the Premier Pass, or if this has something to do with the recent updates. I haven't really been keeping up with them, and I definitely don't look into them as much as I do with the lore, so I'll just avoid cosmetics from here on in, unless they're unlocked from in-game stuff. I want my Cabbage Mancer robes. Few quests away yet, and I'm definitely keeping the backpack still. Instead, the Premier Pass gives us 3k in coins, which I eventually dropped because it didn't feel right using it, even though it's a relatively small amount. But after all that procrastinating, it was finally time to go and poke some sheeps in the bum. Ardoin City Councillor for Public Health and Safety, Halgrave, informs us of a plague that has swept through the western portion of the city. Unfortunately, 4 strangely discoloured sheep have escaped containment, and after examination by the King's Mourners, seem to be infected with the plague. Due to the risk of infection, Halgrave hasn't managed to find anyone willing to dispose of the sheep, so instead has opted to rope in the first unfortunate adventurer stupid enough to help. He gives us some poisoned sheep food, and sends us into the nearby church to speak to Dr. Orban to receive our protective clothing. To the north, on Farmer Brumpty's lands, just to the west of the Lodestone, we find the pen and incinerator that has been set up and a cattle prod nearby. And this is the bit that normally takes me much longer. This has thankfully been made slightly easier due to an update in 2014 that prevents the sheep from immediately wandering off after being prodded, so the first 3 actually went pretty smoothly. The last one, however, didn't, and reminded me why I fucking hate this short but very tedious quest.
One eternity later.
With all of them in the pen, however, culling and burning the bones only took a couple of minutes, and then we got a nice little chunk of change for our efforts. That should probably be a mini quest these days. It used to be a requirement for the next quest on the list, Plague City, where the Elven questline starts in earnest. But like Shield of Arrav to the Rune Mysteries questline, its importance and relevance is pretty debatable, serving only as our first introduction to the plague currently ravaging the population of West Ardoin. And you never know, maybe we'll learn about how these sheep got discoloured in the first place. So I had to get some items in preparation for this quest, and not wanting to repeat the mistakes of the last couple episodes, I decided it was probably a good idea to try and get them first. The rope and the milk were both pretty easy to get quickly. The chocolate dust, ground from a bar purchased from Wyden's food store in Sarim. Thank Guffix he didn't recognise me. Then some snape grass from the Hobgoblin Peninsula to the west, and then for the Dwellberries we travelled north of Ardoin, through Hemenster to Mr. McGruber's Wood, and the game crashed. Then I forgot to hit record while picking up the elderberries, and instead did it while I was heading back to Ardoin. Then we met up with Edmund in his garden near the walls that divide the cities. Hello, old man. That's a bit rude. Your point. Okay. Edmund is pretty down. His daughter, a missionary and healer named Ilona, has gone missing after breaking the law and crossing the wall, unable to sit and do nothing whilst hearing the screams come from those inside. Edmund says he has a plan for getting into West Ardoin, but before we can carry it out, we'll need some protection from the plague. Fortunately, his wife knows how to make a mask with dwellberries that is supposed to repel the plague, and sends us to McGruber's Wood to get some, which made me instantly regret going there pre-quest, as it was technically breaking the rules it didn't count. I don't know if I'll prepare for a quest like this again. Fuck it. And as if punishing me for breaking the account, the game crashed again. What the fuck? Came back into a pending system update, which gave me a nice little time limit to finish the quest, because why not? Alrena, Edmund's wife, makes us the mask, and we take a bucket from Edmund's garden and water from the nearby sink to soften the land until we can dig through into the sewers. Attach a rope to the grill on the pipe to the south, and with Edmund's help, rip it off. In West Ardoin, we meet Jethic, an old friend of Edmund's who doesn't know what Ilona looks like, but fortunately there's a portrait of her in her parents' house, and he's able to point us to the Renaissance on the northern side of town, where she has apparently been staying. Martha Renaissance tells us that Ilona was kidnapped in the street and her daughter Millie was witness to it. Then Millie expands on the tale, informing us that Ilona was dragged into the building with X's on the door on the southern side of the city. We try and enter, and are of course stopped by the mourners, and the game crashed again. We try and enter and are of course stopped by the mourners, who say we'll need a warrant to enter, which we can get from either the head mourner or the city warder Varrock, who's none too happy to receive guests as he's pretty hungover at the moment. Normally his herbalist would make him a hangover cure, but she's caught the plague. She did, however, leave him with a note with the ingredients on, which of course we already have, and after hearing that it's Elena that's gone missing, Varrock provides us with the warrant. In the basement of the building, with crosses on the door, we find Ilona locked in a cell, the key to which is back upstairs in a barrel, and promptly release her. She tells us that she was trying to leave the city with some samples of the plague so she could create a cure, but this will be followed up in the next quest in the series, Biohazard. For now though, with Ilona safely back in the east of the city, we return to Edmund for our reward. All done. Okay, so next we have Observatory Quest, and I thought this was just another little nothing job for a rando during the adventurer's early days. I knew that there had once, long ago, been plans for a sequel, but this never materialised. However, the Observatory does actually have some established history in the world and a reason for its existence, but we'll get to that. Nestled in a valley on the eastern edge of the Galapagos Mountains, we meet Professor Mambo Dunarunna Gronagan. That is his actual name, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, but anyway. Better known as the Observatory Professor, who welcomes us to the wonder of the Observatory. A truly marvellous invention, the likes of which you'll never behold again. Well, it would be if it worked. Through a bickering exchange between the pretentious professor and his exasperated, overworked assistant, we learn that goblins have recently moved into the nearby village and the dungeon beneath the observatory, and have wrought havoc on the telescope and bridge. So of course, Mambo Dunarunna requires our help in fixing it. He needs 3 planks, a bronze bar, and some molten glass. Patrick, his far more normally named assistant, is able to help us find any of the materials if we're struggling, which is very important to this particular account because I can only go to places I've unlocked through questing. And apparently, Patrick is able to read the future from the stars, because for the planks, he sends us to Fort Foreign 3, which is still in ruins and will be for another 2 decades. So I don't think that's an option. Thankfully though, he also suggests Port Khazard, which has 2 plank spawns. The bronze bar was easily mined and smelted in Lumbridge. And then for the molten glass, which requires sand and seaweed. Simple, right? Well, no, actually. Here's where the sandpits are, and here's the areas I have access to. Then there's the seaweed, which has quite a few spawns, nearly all of which are on Karamja, which for the most part, yeah, I don't have access to yet. Patrick points us to a glass-blowing book on the nearby table, and next to it is a lore book. In the early years of the 4th Age, the Zamorakian mage Scorpius was desperate to commune with his god, banished as he was by the edicts set in place by Guthix, the end of the God Wars in the age before. And it was with this fervour that after many years of study, he was able to create a machine that married technology and magic, a great eye that could pierce the very heavens. But the machine would eventually be destroyed, seen as evil by the followers of Saradomin. It's unclear whether this happened when Lord Hazeel lost control of Kandarin's Saradominus forces an age later, or if it was a small raid that happened sometime during the near 2,000 years that span the 4th Age. But it wouldn't matter, because time would eventually vindicate Scorpius' research, and when mankind once again looked to study the heavens, his plans were found and the observatory reconstructed, becoming the main bastion of the study of astronomy in all of Gielinor. His research and star charts still taught to this day. But anyway, the glass-blowing book. Now, this does mention Intrana, which has both seaweed and sand, and while that alone would technically be enough to give me access, I wasn't directly told it by a quest NPC, so I chose to pick some more obscure locations I definitely already had access to. For the sand, it was back to the Hobgoblin Peninsula west of Rimington. While there isn't an actual sandpit here, there is a random pile of sand that you can use a bucket on. Then for the seaweed, I did unlock all of Musa Point and Pirate's Treasure, and on the beach near Karamja Volcano there was a single spawn. Unnecessary little side mission completed. Excellent work, let's make the lens. It'll need to be the exact shape and size. Well, obviously, hence why we have a lens mold. Not anymore. One of those goblins took it. Great, just what I need. StoryScape, I don't suppose you could find it. Of course. To retrieve the mold, we venture down into the dungeon beneath the observatory. From here, we'll need to find our way into the kitchen on the northern side, the key to which can be found in any one of 10 chests located throughout, which I somehow lucked into getting in the first chest I searched. Then we need to deal with a guard who you can either lure away or kill. And it turns out that the goblins have been using the lens mold to cook stew. So Mr. Asbestos Hands here just picks it straight up. We need to cool down the cog in Clock Tower, but apparently the imp gloves are enough to protect. Actually, no, that kind of makes sense. Don't need to though. Back at the reception, we make the lens, then venture back through the dungeon to reach the observatory, because, you know, the bridge is still broken. Once we get there, we're treated to a short cutscene as Mambo I can't get over the fact that that's his actual name. As Mambo Dunarunna goes around fixing his ship. Finally, we look through the telescope and learn that StoryScape is in fact a Pisces, just like me in real life. Maybe it'll actually mean something in RuneScape though, but we'll never know, because despite the hints of a sequel that will repair the bridge, this never came to pass, and the Professor won't feature seriously in another quest for, you guessed it, 20 years. So if the new skill announced last year really does turn out to be astronomy, it'll be interesting to see if and how the observatory plays a role in it. Next we have Dwarf Cannon. Like the Observatory Quest, it has remained relatively unchanged in the last 2.5 decades, but unlike the Observatory, it doesn't really have any hidden lore, at least not that I could find anyway. It does, however, demonstrate the dwarves' technological superiority over the other races of Gielinor through the use of slightly more modern machinery. To the northwest of Hemminster, we meet an elderly member of the Black Guard known as Captain Lorgoth, who is in desperate need of aid in pushing back the goblins that have been attacking from the forest to the south. Why the Black Guard are so desperately protecting a coal mine hundreds of miles away from any of their cities or strongholds, I have no fucking clue. It's not like they don't already have access to coal. First on the docket is to repair the fortifications around the coal mine, and the only major change from the original, because as you can see we're not repairing railings anymore, it's stone walls. After threatening to have the adventurer jailed for desertion when they think the quest is done, Captain Lorgoth asks you to perform a covert operation into enemy territory. And by this he means just go and check out the watchtower to the south and find out why they haven't been reporting in on the goblins' movements. Well, I guess that's why. How long has he been fucking dead though? Wait, there's blood around the body. Is this recent? Did the goblins eat him? We report Gilob's untimely demise to Lorgoth, and next he sends us searching for the deceased son, Lolk. He assumes Lolk has been taken away by goblins and sends us off to search for him, saying that the goblins normally attack from the southeast. And in the southeast, in a cave near the fishing guild, we find a fuck ton of goblins, so I'm guessing this is the right place. And at the end of that cave, in a crate, we find a little goth dwarf with a stupid name and send him home. Always a pleasure to help. In that case, I have one more favour to ask of you. I tried doing a Scottish accent for that. It did not work. So now we've got to repair this nearby cannon. A quick little puzzle where you match the tools to the parts. And surely that's it, right? Wrong. Because somehow this esteemed captain of the Black Guard doesn't even know what the cannon fucking fires. Okay, maybe I can see how he got this posting out in the middle of nowhere. Anyway, he sends us to the Black Guard base to the south of Ice Mountain to find out. At which point, the weapons development chief Nulodian realizes they forgot to send the ammo mold. They really don't take this guy seriously, do they? It fires a mold? Oh, for fuck's sake. So, mold in hand, we return to Captain Lorgoth, who promises to write to the cannon engineer requesting that he sells us one. But it's going to be a very long time till we're even close to affording one of those. Quest done. On to the next one. Murder mystery. Lord Sinclair, a wealthy nobleman in Kandarin, has been murdered, and the local guards are at a loss as to who might have done it or why. So of course the only logical course of action is to ask a random passerby for help. So first the why. As many of you probably know, Camelot Castle just east of Sears Village is home to King Arthur and his knights. But this wasn't always the case. Lord Sinclair actually gifted them the castle when they arrived from Terragard 37 years earlier, and moved his family into the much smaller Sinclair mansion that was built specially for them at the order of King Ulthus, the previous king of Kandarin. It's never quite sat right with his children though, and they believe that they deserved Camelot more than Arthur did. So there we have our motive, making the 6 Sinclair children our lead suspects. And you can learn all of this from the gossip just outside the mansion, which truly illustrates the incompetence of the Kandarin guard. We start by inspecting the crime scene, finding a dagger which apparently isn't sturdy enough to kill someone, and a foul-smelling pot which apparently the victim was drinking from before he died. And there's a piece of thread caught on a nearby broken window. The colour of the thread is different for every player, and ours was red. Both Carol and Bob wear red trousers, so those are our suspects. In Bob's room we find a silver cup, and in Carol's barrel we and Carol's barrel has a silver bottle. Next we grab some flypaper from the shed outside, and using the pot of flour in the kitchen, dust the dagger, cup and bottle for prints, matching those found on the dagger to Carol. But this isn't enough proof because, as previously stated, the dagger likely wasn't sturdy enough to actually do the deed. Giggity. Outside, the aforementioned gossip tells us that the poison salesman in the village recently made a big sale to one of the family. And we meet up with him in the Forester's Arms pub because, you know, that's the perfect place for a poison salesman to do his business, and he tells us that he in fact sold a bottle to every single Sinclair. Helpful. Returning to the mansion, we question Carol about why she bought the poison, and she claims to have needed it to unblock the drains. But the drains haven't been cleared, which combined with everything else is enough evidence to put Carol behind bars. We're back in Misthalin next for what is surprisingly probably one of the most important early quests in the game, being a direct and indirect requirement for more than 16 quests later down the line. Gertrude's Cat. It has received many ultimately inconsequential changes since its release in 2003, the most significant of which simply moved the quest area into Varrock after the removal of the lumberyard in February of 2023. We meet Gertrude in her home on the outskirts of Varrock, distraught at losing her pet cat of 10 years. She doesn't have much in the way of a reward, but does offer us a warm meal. Just a meal. I mean, it's not the best offer I've had, but I suppose I can help. So she offers us some chocolate cake as well, and maybe even a kitten if we seem like a nice sort. Sold! After the way he just spoke to you, I don't think he's a nice sort. After we agree to help, she sends us to speak with her sons, Shield and Willow, in the marketplace, who are apparently the last ones to see Fluffs. She's not sure why they're there, but she's sure they wouldn't be doing anything bad. I didn't mean to take it, I just forgot to pay. Well, I'm sure they'll make great adventurers someday. After a short interaction and Willow fleecing us out of 100 GP, they send us to their refuge from the law, the super secret hideout of Shield and Willow, a ruined building on the western side of Varrock. And lo and behold, Fluffs is up here safe and sound, but doesn't seem to want to leave, so it's time to put the fetch back into the quest. First, Fluffs appears thirsty, so we bring her some nice tasty milk. Now we need to feed her, of course. Gertrude says her favourite food is sardines seasoned with dougal leaves. The leaves can be found right behind her house, and the sardine purchased from Geraint in Port Sarim, who apparently doesn't give a fuck about us stealing from inside his store right in front of him. But even after being fed, Fluffs still won't move. And it's at this point that the adventure hears a faint mewing coming from outside. And in a crate in the ruins next door, we find her 3 kittens. What monster did this to these kittens? They will burn in the fires of Infernus for this. Dude, chill. Let's just get these cats home. Okay. We reunite Fluffs with her children in an adorable little cutscene, and they scamper off home. After getting some fine pussy from Gertrude. Oh god, why did I leave that joke in? Anyway, the adventurer remembered that the last time that they were in Varrock, they got ripped off by the king. After infiltrating 2 of the most dangerous gangs in the city and recovering and restoring a priceless artifact relating to the founding of Varrock, they got a 25-year-old reward, which totaled less than they'd gotten paid for simply shearing some sheep. So, to rectify this, StoryScape goes straight to King Rold and demands another quest. Which of course brings us on to Priest in Peril, the first quest in the Maya Key questline. Released in 2004, it serves as an introduction to the lore of the evil lands to the east of Misthalin, known as Mauritania. We're past the halfway point of the Pathfinder era now, and thankfully, we'll be seeing fewer and fewer little nothings that add relatively little, if anything, to the story. Really getting into the good ones now. Roldy asks us to visit the Temple of Patadomus in the mountain pass of Silveria, built to guard the only crossing of the blessed River Salve. The temple had once been manned by a full military force, but over the course of the last 9.5 centuries, the threat from Mauritania was taken less and less seriously. What was once an army is now a single priest, called Drezel. And this despite 2 werewolves managing to cross the river in the year 164, only 5 years ago, nearly starting the war between the 2 countries again. But anyway, the king hasn't heard from Drezel for a few days and wants us to check on him. I would have sent one of my squires, but they wanted payment for it. Wait, what? He really is a tight prick, isn't he? Once arriving, we knock on a door and get yet another perfect illustration of how the adventurer is far more brawn than brain, because they somehow believe that this is Drezel. And after a short exchange, the impersonator asks us to kill the big dog in the nearby catacombs. It's been really bugging me, barking all the time and stuff. As you wish, 1 dead dog coming up. What the fuck? Why? Why did I even say that? I don't want to do that. This wasn't that bad when the model looked more like some random generic fantasy beast, but why did they change it to look like a normal doggo? What the hell, Jagex? Oh, I don't want to do this. No! What is that sound effect? It's just evil. The fake Drezel is very happy about the crime that we just committed and suggests we go tell the king about what we've done. You did what? Are you mentally deficient? Good question. That's it, Roll. Tear into the cunt. You get back there and do whatever is necessary to safeguard my kingdom from attack, or I will see you beheaded for high treason. Okay. I really should stop trying to voice act. Anyway, this time we enter the temple instead of simply knocking, and surprise, surprise, it's full of Zamarakian months. So I vented some of my frustration on them. You made me kill a puppy! Ooh, a key. Ooh, piece of candy. Fuck's sake. Ooh, a key. I wonder if that'll be useful. Oh shit. On the top floor we find the real Drezel locked in a cell which the key won't open, near an ominous looking coffin. He tells us the tale of the River Salve, of a time when, an age before, 7 priestly warriors, one of whom Drezel is descended from, battled their way through the evil beings swarming the mountain pass, led by a promise from Saradomin himself. For 10 days and nights they fought, 10 days and nights without food or rest. On the 11th day, when their reinforcements finally arrived, they found the evil creatures that had once terrorized their homes, trapped on the Mauritanian bank of the Salve. Saradomin's promise fulfilled, but the victory was bittersweet, as the 7 priestly warriors all lay dead, surrounded by the bodies of the hundreds they had slain. Pathdomus was built in their memory, and as a protection of the blessing left by their sacrifice, their bodies interred in a crypt below the temple, with golden gifts on the tombs as marks of respect. Drezel then asks us to free him, but there's a catch. Remember that ominous looking coffin from before? Well, it turns out there's a vampire in there. Shock horror. One of the few that has survived on this side of the Salve, and as those fiendish Zamorakians pointed out, as a descendant of one of those who trapped it, it will recognise the smell of Drezel's blood should he get too close. So next we venture into the crypt below the temple and examine each of the warriors' statues, finding that the gold key has been replaced by an iron one. Pull the old switcheroo. God, I really am in my 30s, aren't I? Who actually talks like that. Then grab some of the river water from the well in the centre. The key fits Drezel's cell and we show him the river water, speculating that it appears to have been desecrated. So the priest blesses it and we chuck it on the coffin. Back in the crypt, Drezel tells us that the Zamorakians appear to have used a potion of some form on the well that is corrupting the blessing and will eventually affect the entire river. And it's all the adventurer's fault. He's tried to create a blessing on the Mauritanian side of the crypt, but a ghoul has already noticed the weakness and managed to break in. Fortunately though, it is at the moment contained in the next room. To purify the river once more, he theorizes that as rune essence by its very nature absorbs magic, maybe dumping it in the river will counteract the potion and purify it, which honestly seems like kind of a huge gamble. I mean, it's just an ore that absorbs anima. How could an unthinking rock differentiate between the potion and the blessing and not just hoover it all up, leaving the Salve just a normal river, which, you know, will ultimately have the exact same effect? But of course it's not going to work like that. So we grab some pure essence from Cedrador's never-ending supply. Oh shit, Drezel bless the stones. I stand corrected. So after all that, we still don't get a reward from Rolt. I will get him to pay me one day. So does this mean I can go do some skilling in the land of the mad settled? No, because of course at no point during the quest did we actually need to enter Mauritania. So we just unlocked a region without unlocking a region. Yay. Well, the next few quests are going to give us a little bit of whiplash. I still don't understand the decision making behind this, because next we have Death Plateau, which is over here, and then after that we've got 2 more quests right here in Silveria. Then the next is back over there. But the early timeline is kind of a mess.
It is known.
So let's go meet some trolls and start the first voice-acted quest we've had in a little while. That's right, if you didn't know or forgot, this quest was one of those that was completely rewritten in early 2012, as it became part of the tutorial at the time. This all happened around the time the signature heroes were being introduced to the game, and we got one of my favourite ever RuneScape trailers, which perfectly illustrates just how much of a scrub Ozan is, doing the least and getting the last hit in to claim the kill credit. But anyway, let's go unlock Berthorpe already. In Druidic Ritual, we learned of the conflict between Berthorpe and the trolls invading from the north, and restored the stone circle in the hopes of tipping the scales in favour of the humans who defend the town. But we soon learned that this apparently did jack shit, as Commander Denulf tells us.
The trolls have taken up a position on Death Plateau, and we can't move them. As you know, the trolls have been pushing us hard, and we have to do something before they get too dug in and begin sending forces down the pass.
Before asking us to find another route up the mountain to sneak past the trolls' defences for an ambush.
There's a cave beyond the defensive wall to the northwest, at the foot of the plateau, where you'll find a dwarf called Sabbat.
Unfortunately though, Sabbat is a stubborn old racist who refuses to help, until we wear him down with the adventurer's masterful debating skills, I guess.
You're really not going to move, are you? All right, I'll help. Well, if you want up there, you've got 2 choices. The first one is you can try the airy-fairy, lacklustre shoddy way, clambering over the rocks like some cross-eyed goat, faffing around like a fool, scrambling about hand over hand, foot over foot. Nobody's meant to get around like that, man. It's demeaning. No, what you need is to break into one of the natural caves under here. That'll sort you out.
But unfortunately, he's not sure of where the most appropriate cave may be, as he wasn't able to finish his survey before the trolls arrived, so instead sends us to his wife, Frida, but not before getting in some choice digs about her and humans.
It's you lot that I blame. All you gallivanting around on the surface has turned her head.
Oh, he would go telling you that, the old duffer. He's always hated it, ever since I managed to get from Rimington to Taverley overground faster than he went underground. He tried going overground himself next time, slipped on some snow and ended up bashing his shoulder on a rock, bless him.
Unfortunately though, she hasn't had the time to finish the survey yet and sends us to get her climbing boots respiked while we wait.
Hey, these are Frida's boots. Where did you get them?
And despite initially seeming a little suspicious about how and where we got the boots, Dunstan just instantly believes us when we tell him she gave them to us.
You've got a good sense of timing. Here's the report.
The survey shows an area in Sabbath's cave that we need to mine through, and despite refusing to help, doesn't prevent us from completely destroying a wall in his home to make way for an army to march through his home. Then we get a little parkour section through the cave, at the end of which we still end up scrambling hand over foot up a cliff in the way that Sabbath hates anyway.
Clambering over the rocks like some cross-eyed goat. Nobody's meant to get around like that, man. It's demeaning.
Will you look at that? Death Plateau. I'm sure we'll be able to ambush the trolls from up here, and best of all, those dirty stupid trolls don't know a thing about it.
Hello, I's the map. The boss, he say, you carry this map I's made and go down to fight. Then I eat the map, and all the others get angry. Then the other trolls say mean things. Look, it's the stupid troll. He's so stupid, he eats the map. Then they all call me the map from then on. And now, I is lost. We's got no food, we's got no map. So, I ate everyone. They was dead when I did it, so that's okay. Some of them try and pretend to be alive still, but I is smart troll. They no fool me.
Okay.
I eat you, human!
After killing the map, we tell an oath about the cave and watch as a cutscene plays of the ambush that we helped to orchestrate. And after all of that, we don't even get a quest complete screen. Partially to take a short break from questing, and partially to stop my run energy emptying every few minutes while doing said questing, I spent a quick half an hour on the Berthorpe Agility course to get my agility to 20. Then completely forgot to do the Troll Invasion monthly that I fully intended to do for some free Herb XP because it kind of makes sense in the story to do it now. I guess I'll just leave it until the next Troll quest, unless I can find a way to work it in a session where it feels organic. But either way, we're back over to Silveria once more, for where that fateful thing happened that gave the video its title. A quest that hasn't changed in 20 years since its release, though it has had a hell of a lot of patches. A Soul's Bane. And all through my life in-game, I thought this was in the realm of many other quests in the Pathfinder era. An interesting little story with no greater connection to the lore, but it does sow the seeds of what we'll find here in the future. But I'm getting ahead of myself. And before that, real quick, when passing back through Varrock, I remembered something else I'd forgotten to do. That being the natural history quiz in the museum basement. It's here that we meet the character Orlando Smith, who asks us to check that the animal displays are showing the correct information. Nothing really important here, but it's my requirement for unlocking access to the giant mole in Falador, because it's the closest thing I could find to a quest mention to that area. It gives us a little information about some of the game's unique creatures. At the end of it, we're rewarded with 1k Hunter and Slayer XP and 28 kudos, a favour system, I guess, at the museum. Enough procrastination, there's a rift that's opened up near the Varrock dig site. Lorna, a sweet old lady we find near the rift, asks if we've seen her son. He went missing in this general area 25 years ago, and when the rift opened, her husband went down to search for him. Now he too hasn't been seen in days, so of course we offer to go look for him.
Why should I, Tolna, be trapped in such a wretched place? Oh, it's not fair! Feel my anger!
As we pass through the rift, each section will be influenced by a different part of Tolna's psyche. The first section gives us a rage level meter to fill up by using the weapons near the entrance to kill the beasts in the room, but each weapon will only work against a certain creature, and you can only carry one of them at a time, so it can take a little while going back and switching weapons or, waiting for them to respawn. And when the meter is full, the adventurer lets out a shriek and kills every creature in the room, triggering a cutscene of Tolna running away all those years ago.
It's so quiet and dark. I fear I may never escape this horrid place. Mom, Dad, help me.
Upon entering the second room, Nosferatu evolved into their final form. So when this quest is over, we'll switch to But Anyway, so they can grow up to make future quests a little bit easier. But anyway, this room has us peeking down dark holes until a Fear Reaper attempts to jump scare us, and then wander around the room again, looking in the holes until we've killed him another 4 times.
Where am I? How long have I been here? Am I still the person I once was? Oh, why am I so confused?
And this is probably the most annoying room. Find which one of the 5 confusion beasts you can actually damage, kill it, and one of the doors will disappear. And of course do this until there's just one door left. Then we get an extremely cursed chat head of Tolna arguing with himself briefly.
What's the point? No one will ever help me. I'm not worth anything. Will anyone ever combat my hopelessness?
Well, that one was pretty on the nose, because in this penultimate of rooms, we have had to do exactly that, with each aspect needing to be killed 3 times, and once 5 have been defeated, a bridge of hope appears to transport us across the cavern. And finally, we come across Tolna confronting his father.
Why should I speak to you? Besides, I am no longer the boy you once knew. Something evil in this dungeon has warped my body and mind. You had your chance to help me. 25 years it's taken you.
He unfortunately doesn't believe that his parents searched for him, and when the adventurer interjects on their behalf, it only makes the situation worse.
Ha! If that is what you think, then you shall both die.
So this is the boss fight that I rather embarrassingly lost my hardcore status to. As you can see, I didn't have much food left, but what you can definitely also see in my inventory there is those runes in the bottom, which I specifically put there so I'd have a one-click teleport to dip if I needed to. I saw that I had 19% hit chance, I saw how much damage he was doing, and briefly completely forgot that I was hardcore, opting to just die to get out quickly and restock with better food. Fortunately, right when I ate that last piece of food, that was when I remembered, and realised that there was no hope of getting out of this alive. But we did get to meet our first Guardian of Guthix, Harold Death Esquire, who informs us that it is not yet our time and allows us to return to the land of the living. Tolna is able to attack with both ranged and melee, so it's best to stay further away, and the heads have 3000, 5000 and 5000 HP for a total of 13k, and in his second attempt, a level 25 StoryScape was able to defeat the 3 level 39 heads of Tolna with relative ease. Once defeated, Tolna reveals that he was looking for the legacy of a civilization that used to live down here. And that one little line, that was it. But it genuinely surprised me and completely reframed the story of the quest for me. I mean, if you know, but it's a fun little nod to what we'll find in this area, especially the amount of magic that was definitely present in this area. It kind of makes sense why you get this mysterious rift. Lastly, in the mountain pass for now, the adventurer will complete a quest for probably one of the most mysterious figures in Gillinor, Rag and Bone Man. Near the limestone quarry, the adventurer meets an odd old man surrounded by bones, so naturally they ask it, what's with all the bones? And after apparently being told what to say by the sack of bones on his back, how many times am I going to see fucking bones in this quest? He claims to be an archaeologist working for the museum. Apparently they asked him to create displays of 2nd and 3rd age creatures using their bones, although he's short of having a complete skeleton. So naturally the adventurer offers to help, much to the amusement of the strange creature on the odd old man's back. Okay, I really should stop trying to voice act. Where do you need me to dig?
Dig? Oh, you must have gotten the wrong end of the stick. I need some fresh whole bones to replace ones that have become damaged.
What? Excuse me? Shh, sorry. He goes on to give us some bullshit about losing and breaking some of his collected bones, and gives us a list of 8 creatures that we'll need to slaughter for him, saying that we'll also need to boil the bones in vinegar to polish them before handing them over. The adventurer really will just do anything some randomer asks to, won't they? But I suppose they are still a Pathfinder and are willing to take any work that comes their way at the moment. I thought this bit might have been a bit more complicated with the restrictions on my account, but every creature was pretty easy to find in areas I'd already unlocked, and I'm not really sure how to do this, so... Could you call this a montage? I don't know. Doesn't feel like it. Oh, tell a lie, there was one awkward bit. To get down into the Lumbridge swamp caves, we needed a light source. Neither my crafting nor fire-making level were high enough to create or light anything, and with the only candle shop lying in a town that I can't access, I had to resort to the wiki to find one. Fortunately, there is a spawn on the first floor of the sword shop in Varrock. Then I made some molten glass using the locations I learnt of during the Observatory Quest, and made a candle lantern to prevent the open flame igniting the swamp gases in the caves. I also picked up a spiny helmet from Jacqueline to protect from the wall beasts. I probably should have brought at least a second light source though, because I could still barely see anything down there. All the bones collected, we met up with the wine merchant in Draenor village to collect some vinegar, and returned to the odd old man to polish them on his pot boiler. I'm polishing the old man's bones for him in his sack. Don't know how I've avoided making any dirty jokes during this, but I just didn't think of any. Anyway, the old man in his sack seemed very happy with our work and tell us about the wish list of extra bones pinned to his shack, which we will eventually do, but for this I'll also need 40 Slayer and to complete a couple of other quests. But we'll meet him again later for the sequel. So, back to Tavali for our next quest, another one of those rewritten with voice acting in 2012. Wolf Whistle. Pickup Sticks, a world-renowned summoner, seems to have misplaced his assistant's Bowl of Tricks and Scale-Electrics.
I sent them out this morning to gather supplies, and they have not returned. It is a little worrying.
Before telling us exactly where they are, making me wonder why he couldn't have just walked the short distance to check himself. Hey, shh. But, no, shh. I need the work. Do you? Well, no, but he might teach me how to summon things. Okay, well, anyway, right where Pickup Sticks said she'd be, we find Scale-Electrics.
Well, I would have come back, but Bowl of Tricks has been captured by trolls. I've been waiting here for someone to come and help me.
It's kind of worrying that the trolls are this far south. Apparently, Dunulf is still struggling to hold them back, despite capturing Death Plateau a few weeks ago. Everything we do just seems to do nothing in the long run. The trolls just keep fucking coming.
They're in this well, but don't go in there. There are way too many to handle. We need something to keep them at bay or break them up.
She says that she tried using a spirit wolf to scare them off, but they appear to be immune to its howl and asks us to get help from their teacher. 22 seconds later, shut up, we apprise Pickup Sticks of the situation and to see if he has any suggestions.
I might well do. But it's risky. Although with you assisting me, we might well do it. I sense deep wells of energy within you that you could tap. You might even survive.
Well, thanks. Am I what now?
We are going to attempt a momentous feat of summoning. We are going to try and summon a giant Wolpertinger.
So, in the previous iteration of this quest, we used the aforementioned Spirit Wolf to scare away a giant Wolpertinger, and now the villain becomes the hero as Pickup Sticks tells us exactly what we'll need to summon such a powerful beastie. Let's forget that it requires 92 summoning for the weaker version of this creature, and according to him himself, it would normally take a full group of druids to do this. First, the Blessed Pouch, which is in his sock drawer for some reason. The white hare meat is imported from Mauritania by the pet shop owner, who just gives us some for free when we claim it's an emergency. Up White Wolf Mountain, we find the remains of stickle bricks and... for the Wolfbone Amulet. Bring it all to pick up Styx, who doesn't even ask about stickle bricks.
These are very valuable relics. I see what I've heard about you is more than true. You've got everything right here. I have some spirit helpers that sometimes do tasks for me. In this case, I just ask them to make sure that these items will all return to me if they get lost or damaged.
Then instantly destroy them all, creating the pouch.
I had never thought we'd have needed one of these in my lifetime. Well done. I think you are ready. Take this to Scalatrix. With her help, you should be able to summon this spirit beast and roust the troll.
A giant Wolpertinger pouch. I never thought I'd see one. With just the two of us, it'll be a stretch, and we'll only be able to summon it for a few seconds, but that might be all the time we need.
The cutscene plays of us summoning the Wolpertinger, scaring the shit out of the trolls.
It's messing with wolf-meat brains! In my head! Make it stop!
Wolf won't need it, Mummy!
And we rescue Bowl of Tricks from the backwards Hicks.
Thank you both. I was a goner until you showed up.
Who then pretends to have a broken rib to avoid going back to work to pick up Styx, and I can't say I blame him, really. On to the next one, Swept Away. A Halloween quest from 2008 which got left in the room for some strange and unknown reason, probably because purple cats.
Meow.
A caravan of witches has arrived in Draenor, bringing with it an interesting smell, which the adventurer goes to investigate. Maggie says she's brewing up a mean batch of the good stuff, don't you know, but it won't get finished because unfortunately Babe, her skeleton ox, has the sniffles somehow and can't be left alone. So of course we offer to help, and she explains that all that's left is to stir the mixture with an enchanted broomstick. She hands us a broom and sends us off to Hetty, Betty and Aggie to get it enchanted. Starting with the closest, a witch famous for her dyes in the heart of Draenor, we find Aggie, who teleports us to a clearing in a forest somewhere and says to enchant the broom we'll have to alter the symbol next to us to create 4 triangles. Next, we meet Betty in her shop in Port Sarim, who says she'll need her wand for this kind of enchantment, but there's a problem, because of course there is. The wand has been locked in a chest by highly magical means, which her assistant Lottie expands on, telling us we'll need to bring order to the menagerie to unlock the chest. So after a couple of minutes moving creatures into their correct pens, the chest opens and Betty enchants the broom. Finally is Hetty in Remington, who will finalise the enchantment with some ointment, and to do this she'll need a newt.
A newt?
She's just had a delivery of them, so it should be a simple case of going downstairs and grabbing a newt from the newt crate. But nothing in this game is ever that simple, as the delivery ghoul Gus explains that the toad and newt crates have been mislabelled, so we'll need to change the labels on them after identifying what's in each crate. But we'll only be able to take one creature from each crate to do so. Pull the newt out of the newts and toad crates, whack a newt label on it, put the toad label on the newt crate and the mixed label on the last. Ointment applied to the broom, back to the caravan, stir the cauldron, and Maggie asks us if we'd like to try some of her goulash. Wait, what? Goulash? I thought you were brewing some amazingly magical witchly potion. But anyway, she gives us a bowl and says we can have 10 experience-giving portions for our help, all of which went on her blog, getting me all the way to 13. Next, we have Myths of the White Lands, which was released alongside the Christmas event for 2008. With that information, I did consider calling this the end of the adventurer's first year of questing. However, just a few quests later, we do have Violet of Blue, which, if I recall correctly, is actually set during Windtumber, and its sequel, which is at a similar point in the next era, is set exactly 1 year later. So it made more sense to me to put the end of the first and second years around then. But anyway, after snacking on his goulash, StoryScape decides to visit the Explorer Jack in Lumbridge to see if he knows of any quests to undertake. Jack tells us for time a snow imp wandered in and told him tales of his home in the land of snow, of plunderable knowledge and riches in its frozen caves, and of sleek precious stones guarded by a ferocious creature, which would make a fine addition to any explorer's collection, before asking us to collect them for him. Isn't the point of an explorer's collection that the explorer themselves collects things so they can show off what... Yeah, this guy definitely seems like a bit of a poser. The adventurer, of course, agrees, and definitely not an explorer Jack sends us to Wizard Isidore with a teleport phrase for the Land of Snow. Before leaving, Jack assures us that the imp was definitely telling the truth, and as he says, the place exists, so must the riches. Imps are not famed for being truthful, though. In fact, they're famed for being thieves. Imps, yes, but not snow imps. Whatever you say, buddy. At the Wizard's Tower, we find Isidore.
Oh, hello there. Can I do anything for you?
And true to his name, he is a door for us. Get into the Land of Snow.
Very well, then. Here you go. Ecto sum glisendo.
Bringing us to the first of the slippery ice puzzles. The fact that the ice has been graphically updated here and the rest of it hasn't is interesting. I mean, it's far less noticeable inside, but out here it just looks a little bit weird. From here, we'll have to make our way through 6 rooms with ice puzzles. We won't be able to go directly to the stones, however, as they're being guarded by a Yeti. At the end, we find a giant ice horn in the same room as the Yeti, who gets knocked out when we shout into it. A quick trip back through the frozen rooms and grab the, precious stones before returning to the entrance, where we're greeted by 3 snow imps who seem rather amused by something. Apparently they weren't very happy with being interrogated by Jack, so they lied to him about the precious stones, which are in fact Yeti dung. Ew. Which when thawed out should create a rather unpleasant smell. They like the adventurer more than Jack though, and offer to enchant the frozen shit so it won't thaw out until given to someone else. And back in Lungridge, we give them to Jack, opting not to tell him what they really are before making a quick exit to avoid the impending stench. Next, we have One Piercing Note, which was the first fully voice-acted quest, released all the way back in November of 2011. It also featured the game's first songs with actual vocal lyrics, which I absolutely fucking love, and I kinda wanted to make a whole RSMV, but, well, this video is already like a month late. They take so long to make, especially with a controller. Really don't need to be giving myself any extra work at the moment. But anyway, we catch up with the adventurer as they make their way to the Abbey of St. Elspeth Cythereed. Outside the abbey is a group of troubadours singing of a lost love.
I can see her dancing barefoot, there are flowers in her hair. I remember like I saw it yesterday.
And here's the lyrics. It's a short song, but this will be important later.
Thanks, Saradomin. You must be the adventurer the abbess prayed for.
Adventurer, thanks Saradomin you've come. I've called you here for a sensitive task. One that I would prefer to deal with quietly, without involving the church authorities or the Al-Kharid Guard. I hope I can trust you to be discreet. One of our sisters has been murdered. I would like you to investigate.
So once again, this young and relatively inexperienced adventurer is tasked with solving a rather serious crime. The abbess tells us who the victim was and gives us a rough idea when the murder must have taken place, before giving us the key to the victim's room. Tells us the body has been moved to the infirmary and asks us to discreetly question the other sisters, before giving us a notebook to fill with whatever relevant information we find. Now normally, I try to avoid using the wiki while doing quests unless I get really stuck on a puzzle, but I've always been kind of crap at these kind of quests, and you need to get every relevant clue for each section to advance the story, so I'm just going to be roughly following it for this one. Starting off with where Sister Anna's body was found, in her cell. Under her bed we find a fragment of cloth that doesn't seem to match the sister's habits, and the window appears to have been broken from the inside, showing that the killer didn't break in that way. In the room next to Abbess Benita's office, we find another piece of cloth matching the piece that we found in Anna's room, and then it's time to interview 5 people around the abbey.
What is it?
Sister Elena lets us know that she was in the kitchen at the time and suspects that one of the sisters has been stealing. And I missed a clue here, but I'll come back to her in a little bit. Sister Katerina tells us that she was in the scriptorium illuminating some texts at the time of the murder, and that another applicant vanished the day before. The same day as the murder. And then we ask her about the troubadour outside. This doesn't provide a clue, but again, it will be relevant in a little bit.
I kind of wish I could go out and dance. I used to like dancing, but I'm in the order now, and dancing isn't allowed.
Next, we go speak to the troubadour outside, Valerio.
Greetings, traveller.
and learn that his song is in fact about Sister Anna, and that he only arrived at the Abbey that morning after the murder had already taken place. From Sister Cecilia, we learn about St. Elspeth, the patron of the Abbey, a part-Icene bard who served Saradomin during the God Wars. Her cithara and voice used to recruit and inspire troops with their holy music. Eventually, Zamorak sent a demon known as the Ripper to assassinate her, and while her music was powerful enough to turn the demon away from the village she was staying in, the Ripper simply waited on the outskirts until exhaustion overcame her, and she left to face the beast alone. Although she was mortally wounded during the encounter, before she died she was able to let out one final piercing note to kill the demon, leading to her being posthumously canonized as a saint by the Saradomin High Council, and though roughly 6,500 years later, around 70 years before this murder took place, the Abbey was founded when her remains were discovered there. More importantly though, we learn that Sister Cecilia was in the oratory when the murder was supposed to have taken place. Some feet sticking out of some gears asks us to change the clock tower to the right time. Once again, this isn't a clue, but it will be important later on, as we make a big ding. And from the feat, now revealed to be Sister Deborah, we learn that she was in the clock tower at the time, and that the abbess was planning to retire, wanting Anna to succeed her. Next, we finally go examine the body, seeing that the face and feet have been severely mutilated and disfigured, along with blunt force trauma to the back of her head, and 3 large stab wounds in her chest. Finally, I went back to Sister Elena in the kitchen to get the last couple of clues. First, that Sister Anna was far more strict about the Order's rules than Benita, and when asked about Valerio, Elena responds with this.
I don't know anything about the troubadour. I didn't even know he was there. What troubadour?
I don't think she's a very good liar. We report back to Benita when a scream is heard from outside.
Did you hear that? Quick, follow the sound of that scream! What's happening here? Oh, great Saradomin! Sister Eleanor! I saw it, Abbess! It was the demon! It was the Ripper!
Okay, so now we need to find more clues. Firstly, the body appears to have been moved. The face hasn't been mutilated this time, but the feet have, if only a little, as though the killer didn't have time to finish the job. The blow to the back of the head doesn't seem as severe this time, as though the killer tried to knock her out and failed hard. Finally, on the body, we see a large number of cuts all over her arms and torso, as if the killer struggled with Elena for a few minutes before finally connecting with her heart. Lastly, we check the nearby closet, noticing that many of the robes are crumpled and lying in a heap on the floor as if someone had been hiding there. Then it's time to check Elena's cell. Grabbing the key from the abbess, we find a bundle of increasingly saucy love letters from Valerio under her bed, and in the kitchen we find a gap under some sacks in the corner which was mentioned in the letters, where Elena could sneak Valerio in so they could have sexy fun times together. Outside we confront Valerio about it, needing to tell her that she's dead before he finally admits to the affair.
Oh, Eleanor. She wasn't happy here, you know. She could have been so much more if she had the courage to leave. I met her when she came down to Al-Qarid to buy supplies. We started writing to one another, hiding letters with boxes of food.
And then go question Cecilia, who was kind of a witness, I guess.
We're all going to die. It's going to kill us all. There's no escape. I heard the scream. I heard Sister Eleanor screaming. So I went down the stairs to see, and it was there! The Ripper! Just like in the stories. It was wrapped in rags, and it had its huge claws, and it was bending over Sister Eleanor. It was cutting her feet with its claws. Why would it do that? Then it saw me. It turned its head. It looked at me. I couldn't see its face, thanks Saradomin. If I'd seen its face, I think I might have died of fright. It pushed past me. It splashed Sister Elena's blood onto my robes. And then it ran up the stairs and away. We can't let it defeat us. Almighty Saradomin, give me the strength to not be afraid.
Reporting back to Abbess Benita, she tells us that Katerina has gone outside to dance with the troubadours and asks us to convince her to come back. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, this is probably one of the hardest quests I've had to script so far. I have no idea how this is going to come out. I've rewritten this like 3 or 4 times now. I haven't thought of any jokes, I don't think. I don't know how the pacing's coming out. So if you're still watching, thanks, I guess. But the story is about to get a lot more interesting as we get a cutscene of what appears to be the Ripper demon returned, murdering the poor young Katerina. After raising the gate, Abbess Benita asks both the adventurer and Valerio to join her in her study, where we suggest laying a trap for the killer, and as they're all connected to Valerio, he comes up with the idea of using one of the members of his troupe as bait. Back in the basement, we build a scarecrow and cover it with the Sitharite habit before hiding in the nearby closet, triggering another cutscene.
I can see her dancing barefoot, there are flowers in her hair. I remember like I saw it yesterday. To the sound of flutes and drums she took my hand and danced with me, and we kept dancing once the music went away. She's dancing in the stillness to the beat of unseen drums, and she's dancing in the city and the crowd. And she's dancing on the mountain, and there's snowflakes in her hair, and her beauty makes me want to shout aloud.
Stay back! Make any move and I'll kill her!
So it turns out that Anna was the killer all along, believing that she had been told by St. Elspeth to kill the dancing girls. This then escalates to her believing that she is St. Elspeth, and we argue with her for a little bit before reaching a stalemate.
Stay back! Make any move and I'll kill her!
So it's time to make the big ding again. After showing that old ladies can be badasses too, Deborah goes to wait downstairs while we deal with Anna, who appears to have finally realised how far gone she is.
Sister Deborah, she did nothing wrong. I have not been the voice of St. Elspeth. I have been the hand of the Ripper. Please, adventurer, if you have any mercy, give me a moment to pray for forgiveness before I die.
I don't want to kill you.
Then give me a moment to pray before you take me from here. Almighty Saradomin, creator and ruler of the world, have mercy upon me, for I have sinned against thee with my thoughts, with my voice, and with my hands. As the voice of St. Elspeth struck dead the demon, may it strike dead the evil in my heart, and may the harmony of the saints drown out the discord of my sin. I hear it, the holy choir. I am forgiven. Flights of Icene, lift me up. Saradomin, guide my soul to light.
I guess all that's left now is to report to Abbess Benita and collect our reward. Okay. So, in Wolfwhistle, we learnt that the trolls are pushing further south, and the Berthorpe Guard is struggling to hold them back. This has caused a flock of people to flee as refugees to the village of Tavaly, but of course, wherever there's a crisis, there's always some selfish glutton looking to profit off it as much as possible. Which brings us on to the next quest, Let Them Eat Pie, an obvious reference to the Let Them Eat Cake thing that apparently Marie Antoinette never actually said. Outside the Pick and Loot pub in Tavaly, we meet Nails Newton.
Hey, you looking for work?
See, there's a merchant upstairs I need something lifting from. I do it myself, but I'm more into the legitimate document business these days.
You want me to rob him? That doesn't sound very heroic. Okay. So far on our journey, we've joined 2 criminal organisations, stolen from one of them, helped the other frame someone for murder, smuggled goods across the border and committed casual murder. And now you've suddenly got scruples.
Keep your voice down. Look, he's not a very nice bloke, right? He's Rollo the Stout, and he's currently buying up all the food in the area on the cheap and selling it to the refugees at a huge markup.
Nails goes on to explain that all we'll need to do is steal Rollo's seal so Nails can go all Robin Hood, releasing Rollo's stockpiles for free. As if the adventurer would turn down a quest anyway, StoryScape of course accepts the job. We can't just go in and steal the seal though, because he keeps it in a chest nearby. But not to worry, because Nails has a cunning plan.
Every day he orders some fancy pie from the cook here. What we'll do is make up a pie that'll put him out of commission for some time. If he's rushed off to hawk his guts out, I don't think his first priority will be taking it with him.
For the crust, we mix some maggots into the flour whilst grinding it. And for the filling, we start off with a crayfish that we bury in a nearby flax field until it is disgustingly moist with decay. Lovely. Next, some potato, which gets shoved into a kebitz burrow until it comes back up covered in I can only imagine what, and then go cook it in the pub.
Ugh, that thing stinks. I'll never eat that unless we do something to mask the smell.
So he sends us to steal some spices from foppish Pierre nearby for stench-covering purposes. You'd think Pierre would smell us coming, but apparently not, as we lift the spices without any issues. Pie for Rollo the Stout.
That's me! What is this? This is not the scrumptious red berry and distressed quail pie I demanded!
Then we get a short interaction between the adventurer and Rollo, which truly illustrates how much of a narcissistic ass he is.
Well, that's quite nice of you. Tell the chef I will only sue him slightly for not making what I ordered, and that if this pie tastes nice, then I might even pay him for it.
And StoryScape almost blows the whole thing by thanking Rollo for making him feel less guilty about something.
A crayfish a la manque, eh? Let's see what it tastes like.
What follows is probably one of the most disgusting moments in RuneScape, as we're forced to listen to the gruesome things happening above. Well, we weren't forced, it did give us the choice, but we've got to experience this properly, right?
Oh God, there's more!
Well, Rollo certainly won't be causing any more trouble for a while.
Back upstairs, we're apparently immediately hit by the stench as 2 druids walk around, apparently oblivious to it, whilst one poor waiter trembles traumatised in the background as we steal the seal for Nails, who hands us the forged documents to deliver to Pierre.
What madness is this? He wants me to open the food stores for free? Is he demented? I have to contact some people. Leave me to my despair.
Well, looks like we're done. I'll let the refugees know. We'll have a good old-fashioned feast, and it's all thanks to you. We'll raise a glass or two to you tonight.
While that was quite a light-hearted, albeit disgusting, quest, the next ones for this episode all take on a much more serious tone. And personally, as much as I do love the good old sense of British dad humour that's present in so many quests, I much prefer these darker, more serious ones that really pull you into the darkness of Gillenor's past. Now yes, life can be whimsical and fun, but darkness lies everywhere, and sometimes that darkness is an ancient and powerful beast stealing the souls of the living. Getting ahead of myself, it's time for Song from the Depths. Word reaches the adventurer that something strange is happening in Rimington, and we learn from a resident known as Lucille, all the men, including her husband, seem to have fallen into some kind of enchanted sleep, refusing to awaken.
They keep muttering things, strangely similar things, as though they're all sharing the same dream. They just lie there, empty, as though their soul just upped and left somewhere.
So we offer to investigate, and Lucille warns us that the signature here, known only as the Raptor, has already offered to help.
I'm not afraid to say that I fear the Raptor. Hear stories about him. His solution for a problem is to destroy everything linked to it. That's not who I want saving my husband.
So she gives us a potion of restless sleep to enter the dreams of men. This sends us to sleep as we fade out of the waking world. The first thing we hear upon regaining consciousness is a beautiful voice, calling to us, drawing us away, and all around us the spirits of the men march towards the same place, inexorably drawn to the singing.
Hear the beauty in her voice.
This story starts under the sea, in the home of my sisters. In that home, I found moments to sing, but I knew if my sisters heard me, they would roll up some kelp and force it into my mouth. So I learned to sing quietly. One night, my sisters were out hunting. I swam from my home and came upon a village on the edge of the sea. There were so many people on the docks, working and talking, but they could not see me in the dark water, so I sang to them.
The voice is interrupted by the raptor, who we find slightly further in, and assumes we're here to stop them. I'm here to save Waylon.
It's too late to save Waylon.
Come to me, my men. Gather to hear my story.
Only thing left to do is kill her.
From here we have to navigate through the cave, guided by her music as she continues her story. And you know what? Most of this first part of the quest is her telling her story. I'm just gonna let her tell it.
So I sang an old mermaid song, and the men on the docks listened. The sailors on the dock heard my song, and I could see the adoration on their faces. I drank it all in, but then they stepped into the sea. None of the men made an effort to swim, and they drowned. I lifted the dead bodies back onto the land. I could barely swim home with the sorrow. My sisters taunted me. Even the town changed its name to Witch Haven, as if to remind me of what I had done. I knew I should mourn those men, but I could only think of their adoring looks and the effect they had on me. So I swam for the town again. This time, I climbed onto the land and sang for the men of the fields. There was no water to drown in, and they looked at me with such love.
Okay, well, I was kind of feeling sorry for her, but that's a bit...
But then the men saw one another. They became jealous, and they fought. They hacked at each other, beating flesh and bones with rocks.
That went south quick.
As I learned new songs, I found I could affect men in other ways. One song allowed me to attract the souls of dreaming men. They would love me, even as they slept. Night or day, I was surrounded by those who loved me, and I loved them back. I found myself walking the world, sharing the love of dreaming souls. It was overpowering. It came so easy to me. But one day, I came across a soul that would not love me. A furious soul. It burned with rejection, fear, and hatred. It ignored me.
This rune doesn't really advance the story beyond saying that she soothed the raging soul until she eventually became overpowered by it. But the majority of the dialogue is more part of the rune's puzzle. But then her story ends and begins again as the souls have reached their final destination.
I guess this is the end of the line. No one could make that jump and survive. It would be foolish to even try.
Oh fuck, here we go.
Leroy Jenkins!
Say what? I don't even know how that works here. Oh shit. So that just happened. We make our way through the belly of the beast, dodging pools of stomach acid and the enormous parasites that call it home until we come across a cyst containing the siren.
Stop! You can't be here! This is our island. You need to get back on your ship. The old woman. You'd better leave before she finds you. She doesn't like trespassers. You'll make her angry.
We try to explain to her that she's not on an island, but she doesn't believe us until she sings the waking song.
Gods! No, this can't be! What infernal place is this? What has been done to me?
She then explains that the raging soul she found had eaten her, couldn't have guessed that, and comes to the realization that the dragon has been using her to lure in the souls.
I know it's only a small means of reparations, but my waking song has sent the other souls back to their bodies.
Revealing her name to be Remora, she begins to detail an escape plan when we're rudely interrupted by the raptor.
Found you. I'm going to put an end to your witchcraft.
After a short argument, the raptor begrudgingly agrees not to kill her so we can use her necklace to escape. Breaking the cyst with Remora's coral crossbow, the dragon regurgitates us and we just barely make it out in time after Remora perishes in the dragon's fire. Back outside, the raptor vows to slay the dragon and we return to Lucille for our reward. From one ancient and powerful beast to the next, and not for the last time in this episode, after almost a year away from his home, it's time for the adventurer to return to his birthplace in A Shadow over Ashdale. Gudrick, a retired adventurer, has received the troubling news that the supply ships sent to the island are returning with all their cargo, and apparently no one has been seen on Ashdale for around a week, the sailors claiming that an evil aura has settled over the island. So we head over there to investigate. After a few minutes of searching around, we find a survivor called Lucy cowering in her home. She explains that around a week ago, nightmare creatures began appearing in the town from somewhere, dragging off many of the island's inhabitants. She says to explore the island more, we'll need to travel through the sewers as much of the streets have been barricaded, not that it did the townspeople any good. Making our way through the sewers, we trigger a cutscene when the adventurer steps in some gross goop, and one of the creatures, that will later be described as the unholy fusion of man, crab and squid, attacks us. And then just before the exit, get attacked again. Back on the surface, we battle past two more of the monsters, making our way to an extremely precarious looking building on the island's south side, in which we find a page of the owner Ogden Plainview's journal, which tells us of a natural cave that spirals down through the sea stack that the house was built on, and upon inspecting the nearby bust, the centre of the room becomes a staircase down to the aforementioned tunnels. The adventurer finds himself in a large cavern with another one of the crab things and the body of a dead smuggler, and after taking out the monster we search the corpse for another journal. The journal details how the smugglers landed on the island, finding a cavern large enough to house their ship, the walls of that cavern covered in large man-sized holes. And in one of those holes they discovered one of the crab-like creatures in some kind of stasis, running it through as soon as it stirred. A few days later, when preparing to leave, one of the smugglers apparently fell and somehow knocked a cannon from its carriage, causing it to go off when it hit the deck. What? Somehow is right. Do you know how fucking heavy those things are? And why was it even loaded? Who the fuck leaves a cannonball in a cannon with powder? What the fuck? Okay, whatever. Let's just get on with it. Suddenly, Anders gave a cry and pointed towards the cave wall. I followed his gaze and saw a dark shape emerging from one of the holes. Then I saw another. The scuttling sound grew louder, and at that point Captain Mulligan appeared on the deck. He shouted, "To arms!" and everything descended into chaos. One of the creatures appeared on deck, followed moments later by two more. Those who had swords drew them. I heard shouts, screams and the ringing of steel. I saw Archer fall, his face covered in blood. More of the creatures swarmed onto the ship. Then I saw Mulligan, held by one of the creatures, screaming as he was carried off into the darkness. The panic rose in my chest, and I turned and ran. The entry ends with the smuggler accepting his fate with an ominous line. "They're coming. I can hear them." In the next room, we find a puzzle where you need to find a few things on the floor to raise the water pressure and open the door. And the adventurer heads deeper into the cave system, hoping to find the ship, figuring it could be the source of the creatures, and potentially where the missing townsfolk are. We kill the creatures to the next room to open the door, and sneak through the next few sections, taking them out with the mechanical traps that exist down here for some strange and unknown reason. I guess maybe they were built by the original settlers of Ashdale to hold back the Crashians. Eventually, we find the ship and it's time for the quest boss, Agaroth. During the quest, he has two phases. In the first phase, you only have to deal with his tentacles, which will telegraph their attacks by spinning for a second, then slamming down, dealing damage and stunning you. But after you take one out, you can save spot the other three with magical range. Then the second phase begins, which is also pretty easy if you're not using melee. He has clearly telegraphed attacks that are relatively easy to dodge, and when the shadows appear on the deck, you just run up to the stern where it's safe. With Agaroth defeated, the villagers are released from the nearby cage, and we head back to Gudrick for our reward. Okay, so now we've got Broken Home, and this quest has caused me some issues. It's already in a strange place in the timeline. It does actually include references to some lore that we haven't really explored yet, and it's just kind of mentioned in passing, so I'm not going to go into it too deep in this episode. I'm not sure if it's only in its position because it's a free-to-play quest, and I think it's the second best in slot ring for free players is one of the rewards. But we do have 6th Age quests that are free, so I don't know, maybe this should be one of them. On top of that, it's also kind of taught me that some of these quests will definitely need to be, we'll need to have some kind of live commentary. I was thinking that, you know, there aren't many quests that are just like a 40-minute exploration or an hour-and-a-half exploration of an area, and then I remembered Underground Pass, so yeah, that's going to be fun when I get to it. But I would like to get into some more live commentary, so from the Adventurer Age, after the next episode, I might try that. It was always easier for me while I was streaming, but I've got a stream coming up when I finish the next 3 quests, just doing some skilling and some tidying up. I did mention it a few weeks, maybe even months ago now, but well, I was procrastinating over Broken Home a bit. I do think this has come out pretty well, all things considered, especially with my brain kind of turning to mush this week with the heat wave and not really being able to sleep because we don't have any fucking aircon in the UK. Well, we do, but not in this house. But yeah, that's all I can think of saying. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It's very important. Very important that a YouTuber must say, don't forget to like and subscribe. Oh god, I'm going to cringe myself into non-existence, so let's just get on with the quest, shall we? Back in Silveria, we meet a housekeeper called Maria, distraught and likely traumatized after seeing a ghost murder the other household staff in the nearby mansion. It seems to have started when Ingram, the mansion's owner, was exploring the lower levels of the sub-basement. She also tells us that a strange energy has surrounded the house, preventing us from taking any combat gear or items in. So StoryScape deposits all his stuff in a conveniently placed bank deposit box, and wait, is that really the outfit I went for? Fuck is up with my shoes? Thankfully, I did grab the free pack of old loyalty point outfits released in April, and after a quick peruse of the outfits, I eventually settled on the colonist outfit. With a backpack, of course, and I'm going to try not to think too hard about the fact that I'm British and picked the colonist outfit. Just kind of looks like a good adventuring outfit. And he's got his little man bag and some very practical looking boots. Enough copium, let's go bust a ghost. Upon entering, we see the ghost of a little girl enter one of the western rooms and follow her, finding a broken grandfather clock inside, and a couple of rooms later, we see one of the housekeepers get snatched away by something, dropping the raven key and the missing clock hands. After repairing the grandfather clock, an eye-shaped gemstone drops out of it. Making our way over to the eastern side of the building, we see a second ghost, this one of a little boy. He walks straight through the northern wall, can't really follow him that way, so we just check the closest room instead, finding ourselves in a small library with 7 of the books lying in a messy puzzle on the floor. After compulsively restacking the books and pushing them back into place, 2 more eye gems fall out. Making our way out, StoryScape sees some smoke pouring out of the door that leads back into the corridor, and when peeking through the keyhole, we see a third ghost, this one of a much older man. Continuing through the eastern side of the mansion, we eventually find ourselves in a room full of suits of armour, with another eye gem behind them all, and grab it after moving them out of the way. On our way out, we miss the smoke coming through the door and instantly get attacked by the old man ghost and run up the stairs to escape. Won't be making that mistake again, I hope. Continuing through the eastern side of the first floor, we see the little girl again, and definitely not a graphical bug, and attempt to follow her, which leads us to a large closet filled with books, and in here we find some research notes that tells us of one of the mansion's previous owners, a man named Ormod who believed he was losing his mind and spent his brief moments of lucidity using his connections from the rune trade to find a cure for his curse of madness. Also finding a fragment of the spell that his contacts had been developing for him, and a key with a spider on it. Making our way out, StoryScape goes to explore the western side of the first floor, finding a dead servant in one of the bedrooms clutching another eye gem, and after waiting for what is most likely the ghost of Ormod to leave, we find a woman with no fucking face in the ensuite. And after searching her, not creepy at all, we find the statue key. Heading north this time, we run into the ghost of the little boy again, but he dissipates before we get a chance to communicate with him. Just next to us is a room that contains a statue with no eyes, and after replacing its eyes with the gemstones we'd found, a nearby door unlocks. We repeat this 2 more times and find the scythe key in the last room. Back on the eastern side of the building, we find a prayer room with a shrine to Saradomin, finding a loose piano key, the skull key, then after leaving the room, we hear a scream from the west. west and find that the door has been blocked from the other side. Heading north, we once again miss the smoke and get attacked by the ghost of Ormod, for fuck's sake, and head back downstairs when the mansion begins to shake and the windows explode, damaging purple smoke billowing in from outside. Continuing through, the same purple smoke has filled the main hall, and we eventually find ourselves in a small study on the western side of the ground floor, finding some of Ormod's own notes, describing the spell that was being developed by some of his clients, which was, according to him, missing something, so we tore it up, which we find a second fragment of. Also on the western side, we find the piano with a missing key, and after replacing the note and playing it, a secret door unlocks, which leads to a room filled with the purple smoke and several skeletons, on one of which we find another eye gem. Then it's time to head down to the basement, where we find the clever key on a dead butler. After carefully walking through a room full of broken glass and flying daggers, we find ourselves in the staff dining room. In the connected laundry room, we find a large pipette and use it on the pig corpse in the larder next door, retrieving some of the bile. Then we find a large furnace surrounded by pools of blood and containing human bones. We scoop up some of the human ashes at the bottom and mix them with the bile in a nearby cauldron, using the alkaline mixture it creates to dissolve the ectoplasm on the southern door, allowing us to pass through, which someone locks behind us. A scream can be heard coming from the nearby room, and inside we find a servant frozen in place, their screaming growing to a deafening pitch as we approach. Inside her mouth, another key glints, so we reach in to grab it, the scream intensifying as we do so, her mouth seemingly beginning to close around our hands, so we yank it and the key free, causing her to crumple lifeless to the floor. Shit, did I just kill her? In the room opposite, we find the snake key and head up the ladder back to the main hall, going back upstairs and further west than before, where we find a set of spiral stairs leading to the Tusks key and the ghost of the little boy, who we can now somehow understand without the amulet of ghost speak. So much for consistency, RuneScape, thanks for that. Lamenting the loss of a hairbrush of all things. Next door to the statue room from before, we find a room with some taxidermied animals and investigate a nearby bust, opening up a trapdoor beneath the bear. Inside, we find the body of a thief who, according to the marks on the wall, had been trapped there for a rather long time. Kinda gotta wonder how he sustains himself in there, but either way, we find the 8th and final eye gem on his body. Going back through the statue rooms, StoryScape returns to the eyes of the last statue, opening another hidden door, inside finding a shrine to Lenian Gulvus, Ormod's son, with a portrait resembling one of the ghosts behind it, and sitting atop the shrine is a hairbrush covered in centuries of dust. Which of course we return to the ghost of Lenian. He thanks us, and we tell him that it appears his father's spirit has been killing people. Lenian explains that Ormod blames himself for his son's death, his guilt trapping him here, and theorizes that perhaps his forgiveness will put Ormod's soul to rest. Then the ghost of the little girl returns and devours Lenian's soul before warping into some Lovecraftian mass of eyes, flesh and teeth, collapsing the staircase. In the rubble we find the noose key and head back out, only to be chased by the monster. Heading back over to the eastern side, we find another bedroom with a ladder hidden in the cupboard for some reason, and climb it down into the basement. Following the corridor, we look for a peephole into another room, seeing a set of mysterious symbols on the wall, which the adventurer quickly commits to memory before heading deeper into the sub-basement. Down and down we go, making our way past an ancient door to head further down until we find a pit, with a rope dangling down into the inky blackness below. A door leads off the cavern we find ourselves in, and inside we find a visitor's log, which rather scarily already has StoryScape's name in, ominously crossed out. I'm going to try not to think too hard about that. Examining the nearby table, we find Abel's notes on insanity. Continuing to explore the area, we realise we seem to be in some kind of ancient prison, or maybe even an asylum of some form, given the notes that we found earlier, and find yet another key at the end. After learning all that we can from down here, we head back up to the surface, making our way back to the eastern side of the first floor. Moving the body that had stopped us coming back through the door from before, we open the last door into Ingram's bedroom, finding him lying lifeless next to the bed, his face frozen in a state of shock and terror. On his body we find more of his writings, revealing that the mass we saw earlier had chased him up from the cells below, also finding the third and final piece of the spell, which when combined with Nabor's notes creates the Break Curse scroll, which the adventurer uses on the mass of flesh, assuming it will turn it back into the little girl, which it doesn't. The thing claims to have had a dream that they were a little girl called Rowena, who just wanted to play, but whenever she drew close to her playmates, they vanished for some reason. The thing reveals itself to be Senescianus Aloysius Pamphilius, I hope I said that right. A demon who once lived in the ancient city of Sentiston. Seneshanus realizes with horror that they must have consumed the little girl Rowena and been driven mad with grief, eventually taking on her appearance and being held in a home for those with broken minds, before Ingram unwittingly released them. The mansion is however still being haunted by the spirit of Ormad, and without Lenien's ghost to offer forgiveness, StoryScape is out of ideas of how to put him to rest, to which Seneshanus offers us a choice. Because they had consumed Lenien, they can take on his form, and from there is the option of either consuming the spirit of Ormod or offering forgiveness as Lenien. I opted for the latter. We get a quick cutscene of Ormod gaining forgiveness and leaving, then head outside for our reward. We'll be able to replay this quest later for extra rewards, but I'm not even thinking about that now. Fucking hell. What's next? What's next is Violet is Blue. Yet another seasonal quest that got left in the game after its release during the 2018 Christmas event. Like the last quest, this is potentially in the wrong place in the timeline, but this is down to it including just one item that technically shouldn't exist. But we'll get to that. Our quest journal informs us of a portal that's opened up at the foot of White Wolf Mountain, and outside we find a little girl called Violet. Hey, you're a little young to be wandering around down here on your own, aren't you? After depicting more peak RuneScape social skills, the little girl darts into the portal and we give chase out of concern for her well-being. A snowball flies out of nowhere and knocks you over, which was of course hurled by the cheeky little girl, but there's more for us in store as we try and scale the hill towards her, only to be met by an onslaught of giant snowballs, which you can either try to dodge, or just fuck it up and take long enough that Violet gets bored apparently. After cresting the peak of the hill, we catch up with the little girl and she laughs at getting snow in StoryScape's face, but before long we're interrupted by the enormous deep roar of some far-off monster, which makes Violet realise she's supposed to be somewhere and makes the adventurer very concerned about whatever made the sound. That could be a giant monster, or a big abominable snowman, or a giant terrifying tree monster that uses vines to ensnare its prey, or big demons that look like mummies but actually have claws longer than their limbs. There could be wolves out here, or big bears, or a cute little cabin in the middle of the woods. So the adventurer knocks on the door, or says knock outside the door. Let's try that again.
Do you want to build a snowman?
No, God! No, God, please, no! No!
But anyway, we're eventually let in by the two elderly yetis who live there, and though the adventurer starts out respectfully thanking them, that all goes out the window when Betty the female yeti offers him some soup, and he instantly assumes they ate the little girl and prepares to attack them when she runs out of the next room safe and sound. We learn that Violet had broken the rules and travelled further than she should have, but this was just because she wanted to see more and visit the nearby village for the festival. Violet leaves, and in private, Betty jokes about cooking the adventurer, and then Trevor the husband explains how many years ago they found Violet wrapped in a blanket on their doorstep and decided to take her in. Now they're worried about her going to the annual Yeti Festival because they're scared she won't be accepted by the other children, and they're worried that this time might come sooner rather than later, as she keeps running off, and as she gets older, it's only getting harder to stop her. We've always wanted to take her to the festival. Would you be willing to accept my help? The question is more for you. Are you willing to help Violet have a magical adventure? Well, that sounds like a yes, so we go and tell Violet the good news. Before we leave, however, we're going to need to gather some things for her to take. And this is the part of the quest with the impossible item. Violet gives us the first letter of the item we have to bring her. There are 12 possible clues, but we only need to bring her 5 items. And it would be just my luck that I got the one item on the list which literally cannot exist for over 10 years in-game. A weapon gizmo. That's it. That's all it is. A weapon gizmo. A piece of technology developed, I think, by the dwarves. I guess it could have been the cave goblins, but were initially taught it by the dwarves, so... Now, maybe I'm being petty, but if they want this quest to be here in the story, and I'll go into this a little bit after the quest, but it makes a lot of sense for this to be at this point in the story, then this item should probably be removed from the pool. I mean, yeah, it's a little thing that won't be noticed by a lot of players, especially new players experiencing the timeline for the first time, but just for consistency in the lore, little things like this do matter. and this is turning into a ramble. But anyway, after gathering all of Violet's things, we head out together towards the mountain pass that will lead us to the village. And in a small clearing of maple trees, we come to our first obstacle. A very dark path. Far too dark and scary for Violet. Thankfully, there just happens to be some fireflies in the bushes nearby that we trap in a jar that Trevor has on him for some reason. But we've got to keep them safe from Violet, who says they taste like popping candy. And we slather some maple syrup we got from the trees in the clearing along the trees on the path, and at this point, but anyway, decides it's time to evolve into their adult but not final form. Finishing off the section, we take Violet through, slowly letting some firelights out of the jar to light the way. Eventually the path opens up to a much larger clearing, this one inhabited by a bunch of snow golems running around like headless Oh, wait, they actually don't have heads, which Violet doesn't like very much, and yeah, I think that'd unsettle me a bit too. But it's okay, because a snowball is basically a head, right? So we make some snowballs which Violet pelts at them until everyone has a head. Well, kinda. Then head into the next area as Violet tries to name all 15 golems. The journey continues ever onwards. We build some snowmen for Violet to shout at to intentionally cause small avalanches, playing a bit hard and fast with your daughter's life there, Trevor, and push her across a frozen lake in a barrel. Before finally coming to the last puzzle. At the peak of the hill before the village entrance, Violet starts getting anxious about the other Yetis not liking her, when StoryScape realises the slope is too steep to safely walk down, which instantly perks Violet up as she suggests building a sled with lots of lights and lots of sparkles, sounding like every PC gamer when building their setup. So we grab some materials from around the clearing, including chopping down the signpost into the town. A little casual vandalism never hurt anyone. Making sure to light it up per Violet's specifications. We name it Sleddy McSledface, which Violet loves because of course she does, she's 6, and ride it down into the village, triggering a cute little cutscene that has all the Yeti children chatter about how pretty Violet is. The lamps from this quest were all going to go on Herblore, but the first two got me to 20, which hits the soft cap, so I kept the last one in my inventory for the last two Pathfinder quests.
Next, we have Myths of the White Lands, which was released alongside the Christmas event for 2008. With that information, I did consider calling this the end of the adventurer's first year of questing. However, just a few quests later, we do have Violet of Blue, which, if I recall correctly, is actually set during Wintumber, and its sequel, which is at a similar point in the next era, is set exactly 1 year later. So it made more sense to me to put the end of the first and second years around then.
So, yeah, that was kind of wrong. I hadn't done my research properly. Violet is 6 in that quest, and 6.5 in the next quest, which takes place just before Christmas in Wintumber, not during the Yeti Festival, which I thought it did. I noticed this when the diary in A Shadow over Ashdale was dated to Banath, which is 7 months before Wintumber, which would actually make sense if we backtracked to Myths of the White Lands, said that was the end of the first year, especially when you add in the quests from the Adventurer era into those 6 months. It all kind of lines up quite well. I'm not sure if it will, but if this pattern continues throughout the next 13 years of in-game time until the 6th Age, at which point the updates mostly become chronological to the lore anyway, then it really shows the level of care the devs put into designing the timeline order. Despite the strange placement of some of the quests and the recent movement of some other quests, and it really makes... It's such a shame that that fucking gizmo is in there. I don't know, maybe I'm being a bit pedantic here, but to me, either this item should be removed from the quest or it needs to be moved later on. Speaking of moving on, next we have a quest that is just plain weird. Once Upon a Slime, which was released as a sequel to the Treasure Hunter promo turned community event. I'm so glad they're done with this shit. Which was called Slimers of the Essence. A 5-day event which had the player helping a pretend chef called Peter get rid of the Slime King he'd inadvertently created when throwing out some of his failed experimental food. But of course, we never did that. The event and the quest have both been removed from the game, so Peter has to introduce himself to us all over again and explain that a while ago, the Slime King escaped and the community banded together to push him through the portal. But apparently that portal just led to some poor bastard's basement, so before long he was back, and once again, his moist matter covered Remington. Gross. Now Peter, being the absolute genius he is, does have a plan this time, but before he's able to tell us, the ground begins to shake and the big jiggly bastard graces us with his gelatinous presence, before Peter describes his grand plan. Queen Slime.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Another cutscene begins playing as Peter elaborates on his genius plan of slime romance, while a polar bear spies on us. More on that in like 30 episodes. I'm really sorry, Peter, but that may be the stupidest idea I've ever heard. We apologise for offending him, and as StoryScape begins to break down the issue, a large pink mass creeps across the background. What have you done? Well, I guess we're going with my plan then. Yeah, I'm not doing the accent. Gods give me strength. Fine, what am I doing? So to get these two beings dating, Peter says we need to get him all gorgeous for his date, deciding that a wee top hat is the perfect fashionscape to complete his look, and sends us to Thessalia in her shop in Varrock to acquire one, revealing that his chef outfit is actually a costume that she made for him. Thessalia claims that she still has nightmares about the horrible gloops. Oh, it just reminds me of that video. I'll put it up on the screen. I can't remember what it's called.
Sloop, splat.
Thessalia claims that she still has nightmares about the horrible gloop sound that the king slime makes, and when told that there are two now, she instantly works out who the idiot behind it is. But as it turns out, she actually recently attempted to break a Gillenorian world record by creating the world's largest top hat. She failed and came second, but that does mean that she has a giant Slime King-sized top hat to hand. Which we return to Peter, and he points out that he did in fact say a wee top hat, and that the king would look like a Buck Egypt in a giant one. Peter, sometimes you say words and I don't know what they mean. So we return to Thessalia and ask her to make the hat smaller, a request she takes great exception to given that she is an expert in making giant hats. But not to worry, because she does know someone who can help. An architect and engineer called Ava Lovelace just happens to have recently invented a shrinking machine. Despite being disappointed that the giant top hat isn't for her, Ava is thrilled for a reason to finally test out her shrinking machine. First one to test it, is this safe? I am 100% certain that this is probably very safe. Maybe. She then tells us that we'll need to calibrate it too, which basically just involves pressing random buttons on the console until you get it right. And after a couple attempts with no indication which ones I actually got right or wrong, I said fuck it and looked on the wiki. After successfully shrinking the hat, Ava asks if StoryScape would consider shrinking himself down to ride around in her pocket, and we leg it out of there before the mad scientist decides she doesn't actually need permission. Back in Remington, we bequeath the top hat to the King Slime, triggering a cutscene where at first Peter's dumb idea seems to have worked, before the Queen Slime just turns around and fucks off. Refusing to accept that his plan was the issue, Peter insists that she must have been distracted by something nearby, and suggests we go ask her what the crack is, to which she obviously doesn't respond. But we do get a piece of her stuck in our inventory, which can be used as a compass to find the thing that's bothering her, the purple goop in Hetty's cauldron, which we slabber all over the king, triggering another cutscene. The queen is drawn back over to him, and from the perspective of Peter and the adventurer, we're told what happens, and what at first seems to be a, let's say, romantic engagement, turns into something much darker, as the queen absorbs the king, creating one gigantic mega slime, and fucks off again. Peter celebrates the supposed win and says that he doesn't think we'll ever see her again. But she did leave us some presents, a swanky new top hat for Peter, and a small pet slime for us. Okay, well that was a short, sweet, and kind of gross quest. And next we have another short and sweet, but notably less gross quest. This one, added during the Easter event of 2025, has us rescuing a duckling who was separated from her parents during a storm in the aptly named Duck Quest. This story begins with the adventurer chilling out, doing some fishing in Draenor when they find a broken nest with an egg in it floating nearby. And of course, as soon as we look down to investigate, the egg hatches, and out pops an adorable little duckling. Hello, little ducky? The duckling looks around, her eyes widening in shock. Immediately, the panicked squeaking starts. Aww. We ask if she knows where her parents are. No idea how she would. She hatched 30 seconds ago, before noticing some debris from the nest nearby, and ask her to stay put while we investigate. Which of course she completely ignores, following us like a lost little puppy, at which point we scoop her up, popping her into our pocket with her head poking out. That's fucking adorable. So from here we follow the trail of debris, taking us east through the Lumbridge Swamp, then north through the city itself, past the Champions Guild, where the trail ends near a willow surrounded by ducks and a druid called Breadsticks, who may or may not have a few screws loose. We explain to him that we're helping the duckling find her family. He says that he saw a nest fall from the nearby willow and was taken away by the river before he could do anything, but maybe the tree could still be of use to us. Unfortunately though, he's tried talking to it, hugging it and meditating under it, but nothing seems to have worked. Can't imagine why. Next he gives us a recipe for a potion of duck speak that he's been unable to decipher because it's written in linear beak script, the duck language, at which point the adventurer just can't help but take the piss. My metaphysical connections are telling me that the language uses symbols. Not sure how I know that. Oh, far out, that makes way too much sense. But anyway, he gives us the indecipherable potion, which also has pictograms apparently. Go to Falador, get duck feed, fill vial with water, add duck feed to vial. If this guy thought too hard, he'd have an aneurysm. In all fairness, remembering that there were ducks in Falador Park and seeing the tree here, I thought this meant the feed would be in the park. I was wrong. It isn't. It's by a random tree on the bank of the moat around the castle, instead, for some reason. So we return to Breadsticks, drink the potion, which turns the adventurer into a duck. Yeah, that tracks. We can no longer understand Breadsticks, nor he us, and so instead we investigate the nearby hole in the roots of the willow. Inside we're met by Jemima, who welcomes us to Paddlington, but says we'll need to complete our induction to get an entry pass into the centre. It's a vital quackification to be administered by the Invigilatoad, who sends off the duckling to the duck crash. Our first trial is to eat the peas that have been scattered around the roots, and we slowly waddle our way around to each pile. I feel like these should have been grapes. Jagus likes making random references that would have been perfect here.
Then he waddled away, waddle waddle. Then he waddled away, waddle waddle. Then he waddled away, waddle waddle.
And our second task is to prove how zen we are, simply needing to find a comfy place to sit and relax and watch the world go by. And right at the peak of the root system, we find a cosy little spot that looks over Paddlington and all its beauty, and after a short little lecture in mindfulness from the Invigilatoad, he allows us into Paddlington. After exploring a little inside, we don't find the duckling's parents, but we do get a mouthful of sap when trying to drink from a leaf and find 2 buttons. Standing on one each triggers a cutscene of a toad shining a light into a tortoise's arsehole. Investigating the toad statue, we spit out the sap and take a ride up to the top of Paddlington on the bubbles it creates, finally returning the duckling to her parents. Okay, so that's the end of the Pathfinder era, but the video hasn't finished yet. There's still a couple more things for the adventurer to do, but before that I just wanted to say thank you. I really didn't think I'd make it this far. The last time I tried to do this with story mode a few years ago, I think I only got to Gertrude's cat, but then it wasn't going as well, because like if there weren't a good 50 or 60 of you coming back each upload, you know, watching the whole thing, liking and commenting and doing all the other good stuff, I really don't think I'd have been able to motivate myself through the last few episodes. So, from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much. Now, the next thing I needed to do was some skilling, partly because my soft cap had gone up due to entering the adventure era, and partly because I needed to get some of the skill requirements for the adventure era. I'm not going to be including much of the skill grinds in the series because I want to keep the focus on the quests, unless there are any complications that arise due to my restrictions and all the timeline stuff. So I'll probably be streaming a lot of the skill grinds. I streamed it for the first time the other day, and it went quite well, to be fair. It was mainly to practice some live commentary, but then I realised that I could make an entire video just out of the stream, and then that would be a lot of videos and not very much account progress, so I decided against it. But I did notice a couple of things that my restrictions have caused that I hadn't quite thought about before properly. Oh shit, no, I am no way going to be able to afford all of the shards for this. There's the one in Uglog or Gutenoth, one of those places. that you can trade in for more for your charms back, but did that even get me a level? That didn't even get me a level, and that used all my spirit shards. I have not got the money for this. Not even close. I'm gonna... Yeah, I know I don't have enough. Okay. You can't just let me buy what... I don't have enough for another... Alright, that's why. I bought... Oh, it did. It did. It bought 114. Okay. So I literally had enough for one inventory, which got me one level. Oh my god, this is going to be hell. Let's go to... I need to remember the farm and batch locations now. We'll go to the obvious one first. I haven't got the cabbage teleport yet. So we got Mauritania, can't do that one yet. Where's the others? Obviously there's this one. There's 2 here. There's 2 at each of them. I need to remember these things. Arduin. I can go to Arduin. I can't access... Fuck! I can't access Manor Farm. I mean, like, it would not make sense if I was farming in their farm patches, but for some reason I wasn't allowed to farm their animals. I didn't water my potatoes. I haven't got a watering can. Oh my god, it's not even like I'm going from a main. The most recent account that I played on a lot was my group Iron Man, and that was kind of timeline locked, but I did do May. Okay then. I did use... Oh god, that's worse. Okay, so what other farming locations are actually available to me? Do I care right now? Not really. And I was able to get probably the most prestigious achievement in RuneScape. Hey! To be fair, I got Surge like 5 months ago, and I've only just done that. That's not bad. That's not terrible. What else is left in Pathfinder? Well, after seeing how the trolls still seem to be an issue, StoryScape, after upgrading their gear, made a load of air runes and headed to Berthorf to see if they could help. Where we find that taking Death Plateau most definitely did nothing, because there's trolls all over the fucking place, and waves of them are still heading down through the mountain pass. So we agreed to help fight them back, battling off 20 waves of trolls of varying skill sets, until we take on the troll general called Cliff. No issue whatsoever, but thanks for the herblore experience. Next we return to Lumbridge to see if Explorer Jack's frozen shit has defrosted yet. It has, and he laughs it off, saying that he managed to continue the scam, selling the feces to a traveller. And after splitting the gold with us, he also suggests some touristy type things that we can do in and around Lumbridge, and the promise of a reward is all that StoryScape needs. Some of them we've already completed, and I won't go into them too much, but during this time StoryScape did explore the highest point of Lumbridge and raise the flag. They met with some famous Lumbridge citizens, including the Duke, the Doomsayer and the Sage, checked in with Father Eric to browse his gravestone collection, played the nearby organ, but when all that was done, we returned to Jack for my currently best in slot ring, and for some more free herblore experience, and with that, StoryScape went off to prepare for the next bout of questing.
Several days later.
And hopefully when I get into the adventurer era, I'm so fucking excited for the adventurer era. There are so many great... look at this. Wait, what is that? Oh shit! I didn't realise they'd added a new quest. I should have fucking checked that. They've added a new quest for... Shit, where does that actually place in the timeline? Let's show completed. Is it low down? Did it at least load? It's the last one. Okay, perfect. Shit, I might need to add that. Oh, I'll just put it at the beginning of the adventure area. I've already done a video called Finally Finishing Pathfinder. Oh, shit. Oh, man.